Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Hey everybody, welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show along with G. Bush, Jason Lloyd. I'm Adam the Bull.
You get a cut?
I got the haircut. Yeah, I trimmed it way down. Look at that.
That's
a summer cut.
Yeah.
I'm not messing around. Got that.
Men,
I don't like it, man. I don't like when there's too much hair around.
All men go up 2 ticks on the meter when they get a haircut.
2 ticks?
Yeah.
2 ticks. When you get a fresh cut, your girl look at you differently. Like, this is the guy I like. This is the guy I fell in love with.
My wife was feeling it. That's right. She was feeling it, no doubt about it.
What was she feeling?
You know what I'm talking about.
What was she
I don't know. I was asleep. I have no idea what happened.
Shut your mouth. This is why I would like y'all.
Steve, Mike, Earl, and Anthony all behind the glass today. Who knows what they're up to? They're always up to some shenanigans back there. I don't know. Steve, you're known for your shenanigans. Whoa! I got the finger from Steve.
Man, this dude.
And the guy who's behind you driving into work.
Wow. Yes.
Was not
First
me.
of all, I mean, I don't understand. I am so frustrated by bad drivers and bad parkers. Let me just rant about this for a minute, even though nothing's going to change. I don't understand why people tailgate. I'm a fast driver. I'm not Jason Lloyd fast, but like close. There's been times I've had to scoot around Jason on the highway because he's taking too long to get on the highway. But I'm moving out there. I'm not some schmo driving 55 in the left lane. All right, I'm going fast. I don't understand why people tailgate. This is not New York City where you got no choice because there's 80 billion cars on the road. There's never a reason to tailgate in Cleveland. It's just stupid and dangerous. It's way more dangerous than driving fast. Because if somebody steps on the brakes, something happens, whatever, you go slamming in. This person's driving behind me like a lunatic. I must have been going 75 at least, honestly, which is way over the speed limit. And this person behind me, I move over, this person's flying up that lane. They must have been going 90, 100, I don't know.
That's why they tailgate. Get you out of the way.
But they weren't even in the left lane. If they were in the left lane, maybe I'd get it. They're in the right lane as you go. You know how you go from 90 and then you got to go over to the right to get downtown?
Yeah.
That's right at that, split off there.
He had something. He had got something for you, bro.
It was a woman. It wasn't a guy.
Oh.
A woman driving that fast?
Yeah. I was surprised. I mean, it was hard to tell. I think it was a woman, but it was like tinted windows. I don't know what was going on with this car. But this person was a lunatic. But even worse than that, people that can't park. Let me tell you something. Cars these days are so big, we don't fit in a lot of these. Like, a lot of these parking lots, you really got to park perfectly. Because all the cars are so big. Otherwise, be respectful for the person next to you. I always, when I park, no matter where I park, I always think, can the person, the cars next to me, can they get in their driver's seat? If I think they can't get in, I'll find somewhere else to park because I'm not selfish. People don't do that.
The trucks the massive trucks drive me crazy. If you want one of those massive things, go park it out away from everybody else.
It's ridiculous.
Because they don't fit in the spots.
It's so annoying. And then but people with normal sized cars that take up 2 spots, I want to punch those people in the face.
Now, do you take in consideration, like, no matter where you park, I still ain't got no room. So, like, if you look at a G. Bush, I mean,
well, because you're big?
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm fat. I get it. So I'm respectful of other people. Like, make sure. There's been a couple times I've had to have my wife pull my car out because I couldn't get in. But, like, don't park so close.
How does that work? How does that conversation start? Does she kind of know? Do you give
she
it a
knows.
look?
I'm like, she's got to pull the car out. I'm too fat to go in.
You give it that look like.
The other day, I'm at where I go get my hair cut. You know where I go get my hair cut. We did your show there once. Yep. And shout out to Jen, who owns the place, and the place is great. But their parking lot in the back is terrible. The spots are particularly tight. I thought I was going to have to ask her, the girl cuts my hair, to pull my car out for me. I was just able to get in.
Like you was like, I'm going to try this one more time.
Yeah.
Put some Vaseline on and shoot yourself.
Barely. I'm like, Anyway, on a much more serious note, obviously word came out about Bernie Kosar's situation, the Parkinson's, and he needs a liver transplant. I texted Bernie this morning, to ask him how he was doing, and you know Bernie. I mean, even when things are not going well, he's going to say he's doing great. So I said, Bernie, how you doing? How you feeling? How's it going? And he, responded that he feels good and he's very confident and doing good. But obviously, we're all thinking of Bernie because we know him personally and wish him the best. He's been through a lot.
Yeah, I texted him yesterday, and he said, I'm good, Big G. You know what I'm saying? I'm just holistic health. Choosing what I, So I said, man, you're a tough son of a, what?
Yeah.
You'll get through it, and so I told him I was praying for him, but I told my dad, and I was just he kind of seen when I looked on the internet, and he kind of see my face kind of turn a little bit.
Yeah.
And he said, what's going on? I said, Bernie, is having some health issues. So, yeah, man, so hopefully prayers to him and his family. And we support you over here at UCSS to get through it. So we always thinking of Bernie.
Bernie was at Jim Donovan's retirement party.
Oh, yeah,
at Channel 3 a few weeks back, and he started to share with us a little bit then about some of the stuff that he was going through. I had no idea. It was devastating, obviously. So, of course, best wishes to Bernie. I hope we get on hope you get the transplant you need and live a healthy, productive life.
Yeah. Mike?
I saw Bernie at the David Njoku charity softball game, and if you didn't know anything, you would never have known because he was moving around. He was in good spirits. So I texted him yesterday when I saw the news, and as you mentioned, in typical Bernie fashion, he said, I've been hit a lot harder by some bigger dudes than this. I'm going to be all right. And in classic Bernie fashion, he was in high spirits despite the fact that he's going through some tough times right now. But from everyone behind the glass as well, we are sending our well wishes and prayers to Bernie and his family that this goes smoothly and he makes a strong, speedy recovery back better than ever.
Yeah. We love you, Bernie. Get well. And there you go. So we'll be thinking of him, no doubt about it. On a much less serious note, it's time to talk some sports, starting with a wild game for the Guardians last night. Mike, why don't you get us going?
Yeah, we'll get into the extra inning dub in 1 second, but first a quick word from FanDuel. You guys know I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop, but as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel keeps me in the game whenever I want because all I have to do is open the app, dream up some bets anytime I'm in the mood, and the sports come back to life. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the ultimate Cleveland sports show.
9-8, the Guardians win in 10 innings last night in Detroit. And it was a game the Guardians had a 6-0 lead, a 7-3 lead. They ended up blowing the lead 7-7. And then they win it in the 10th. They scored 2 in the 10th. The Tigers came back with 1 in the bottom of the 10th. It's so funny to me that I'm seeing fans now complaining about the way the Guardians are winning. Mm-hmm. Obviously, as a team, they haven't been quite as sharp lately. But this is baseball. Like in football, I kind of understand when you complain about that because it's an indicator that once you play better teams in the playoffs, you might lose. That's not the case in baseball.
Yeah.
Like there's ebbs and flows of the season. No team plays great all year long. It just doesn't happen. It's impossible. So, yes, they blew a big lead. They won the game.
Right.
That's all that matters to me.
Well, to that point, the day before, I had to call my mechanic to get my son's car in. It's got to get some things done. And first thing he says to me, Indians can't score a run against the Tigers. Indians can't score a run against the Tigers. Yeah. What's going on with this team? Like, man, it's one game.
One game.
What do you do?
And I love the passion. That's the positive.
Yes.
I mean, I love that there's people more interested in the Guardians than we've seen in a number of years now.
Yes.
That's great.
Yes.
They're just tuning in, boy.
Yeah.
Look, expectations is the great equalizer.
That's true.
They've seen it happen for it's a sustained enough period of time where the Guardians have won.
Yeah.
They look up, they got 5 All-Stars. So now, in my mind, you're supposed to smoke people every game. It's not like that, but that's what the expectation levels are. But I will say this. The thing that I am a little concerned about, and when we've talked about it here, is when is the shoe going to fall for Lively, right? How long is he going to be able to pitch? And every single time he has a mediocre or a bad outing, people are going to say, is he turning back into the old Ben Lively, or is this the new him, or what are we doing here?
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's hard,
It's the third time through the order.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's not an elite pitcher. He's pitched like one of this one. He's not an elite pitcher. And when you see the lineup the third time through, when guys get a third look at you, that's where you're going to run into trouble. And that's where, again, if you want to look ahead to the postseason, he's not going to see a lineup a third time through. I promise you that.
Oh, in a perfect world, he's not even
starting.
He may not
see him a second time.
Okay.
In a perfect world, he's not even starting in the playoffs.
That's not the world we live in.
That's probably
he's
not
going
likely.
To be starting. He'll be starting maybe Game 3, certainly Game 4 of any playoff series.
If he's starting Game 3, that's a problem.
But you can't let him see it. You can't let him see the third time through. He may not see the second time through, frankly.
Right, yeah.
It may be one time through and then out, depending on.
But you're also going to face a lot better lineup than the Tigers.
Absolutely, which is why you get him out sooner.
Although Gio Urshela, the former Guardian, seems to kill the Guardians every time. You don't hit anybody else. I mean, he's doing nothing this year. He's got terrible numbers across the board, but he always seems to play well against his former team.
Yeah.
I thought, and Ben Lively was in a situation, and I've heard some managers talk about this. It was interesting. I heard, in fact, it was the Tigers manager, A.J. Hinch. Mm-hmm. He was on MLB radio yesterday, and Mike Ferrin, who's been a guest on this show, asked him about, because on Monday's game, he brought in Shelby Miller to close, which I thought was pretty surprising. Mm-hmm. And Mike Ferrin said the same thing. He goes, hey, A.J., I was a little surprised you brought in Shelby Miller. Why did you bring in Shelby Miller? And he talked about, I don't know where I was going with this. I know what he said. Why what was
second time through the order, third time through the order?
Man, now I just had brain fart, and I can't remember why I brought this up. But anyway, I thought it was interesting, the comments he made about, hey, I remember why I was going with this. That he said Shelby Miller had struggled a couple of weeks earlier, I think against Cincinnati. He came into 2 games where it was a blowout.
Yeah.
And he wasn't focused.
Right.
Because they were just trying to throw strikes, get out of the game. And that blew up his numbers. And you don't think about that all the time. And, Ben Lively, most of the games he's pitched have been close games. I'm not making an excuse. He pitched poorly in the end. But he had that big lead. You wonder if he kind of just said, all right, let's just throw strikes here.
Let's just get out.
And he wasn't. And a guy like Ben Lively is not going to win on stuff.
Yeah.
No.
Ben Lively's going to win on smarts, on outthinking the hitters. And if he gets to the point where he's like, well, I got a big lead, I better just throw it right down the middle, essentially. Now, he may not be thinking that consciously, but may not be focused on the game plan as much. That could lead to the results that we saw after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always find it strange that, if you win a game from coming from behind, you get more love than if you blew the lead and then still won.
Yeah, right.
You're like, listen,
can
you imagine? Did you see the Guardians came from 6-0?
Yeah.
And you're like, but we always give deference to starting off slow but ending strong. I was a little concerned because they just don't play. Like, I'm looking at the Tigers and I'm like, all right, Tigers is decent. They're not nothing special. I was in my feelings like, we about to lose 2 in a row to the Tigers. I'm looking at Minnesota. Minnesota's playing a little bit better. I'm like, I don't like that, bro. But they pulled it out at the end. And if you can, to me, it's about winning series. Like, if you win the series consistently, I think you can feel good about yourself. One game here or one game there to the White Sox or the Tigers or the Royals. It is what it is. We just worry about winning series.
Yeah, I mean, and the Twins have done a better job of late of beating up the bad teams. The Guardians have not beat up the bad teams. The Guardians played very well against good teams. They've, for some reason, not dominated the bad teams, and that's why the Twins have closed the gap a little bit. Twins actually have the best record in baseball, I believe, since like April 28th or whatever.
Yeah.
They've played great. This division is the best it's been in a number of years because Kansas City's competitive. Kansas City's a decent team. Detroit's competitive, and Minnesota's good, and we know how good the Guardians are. But, they're going to go over 60 wins, I think, before the All-Star break. I'd bet on that. They got 5 games left. I think they'll win 60-plus, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, despite some piccadillies here that you can go on about, they've mostly played great. I think, yes, the starting pitching remains the biggest concern with this team, whether Ben Lively's good or not. Now, the positive, and I don't think were you guys here yesterday? None of you.
I was, yeah.
Oh, you were, yeah. So you guys, I'm sure, talked about it a little, but it was great to see Gavin Williams with that second start. I mean, he was fantastic.
Yes.
In that game, but anyway, but there were definitely some positives last night. Angel Martinez is playing great.
Yep.
Yeah.
He hits his first home run. I mean, the guy's been unbelievable. Naylor hit a home run last night. Sometimes when you blow a big lead, it's hard to get the bats going again. They got the 2 runs in the 10th inning, and Emmanuel Clase, who gave up the unearned run because the runner, that's nothing. He shut the door as usual. Gaddis pitched great again. Barlow did a nice job yesterday. The bullpen continues to be pretty strong. Bullpen only gave up 1 run, I think, right?
This Angel Martinez,
He's been fantastic so far.
if say for instance they put him in order full time, and he's an everyday player, where would they bat him? Because he only seem like he's the leadoff guy.
I mean, you're not going to take Quan out of the
Right,
leadoff
so-
spot.
But he's batting second.
He could be
Yeah.
he could be a prototypical number 2 hitter, and which really they don't have. They haven't. I thought Freeman could be that guy. I hoped he would be that guy. He's been up and down this year. Now he's more into a part-time role right now.
Yeah.
If Martinez continues to hit, they're going to keep running him out there.
Yeah, I mean, right now he's got to play every day.
Yeah.
I mean, the way he's shown great plate discipline.
Yeah.
What has he got? 8-9 walks already in
He had
a
8.
week.
Did he walk last night? He had 8 entering last night.
I can't remember if he walked last night.
According to ESPN, he still has 8 walks in 9 games.
I mean, 8 walks in 9 games for a rookie
really
is
good.
pretty crazy.
Yeah. Really good.
So he's hit the ball.
8 walks in 8 games.
8 walks in 8 games. Yeah, even better. So right now you got to play him every day. Again, I'm going to keep advocating for making trades. We got what's today? The 10th? I don't
The
even know what
10th,
date it
correct.
is. 10th.
20
so we got
days.
20 days.
20 days.
To do something. We'll see what they do.
I said the other day, it just feels like the way that they're cycling these young guys up, it just feels like it's a showcase.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
That they're
Absolutely.
showing teams.
And Angel Martinez could be the guy they
He
trade.
could be.
It could be.
They're showing teams, this is what we have. What do you like? Who do you like?
Right.
You've seen a little bit of Tanya. You've seen a little bit of Martinez.
Right.
You've seen some Freeman. You've seen Arias. You've seen Rocchio,
Right.
obviously.
Schneemann.
Noel.
Yeah. And let's face it, I'm sure right now the fans will, you can't trade Martinez. You can't trade Martinez.
Yeah.
Trade Arias. Okay, Martinez might have more value now.
Right.
Whatever. The way Martinez is played right now, not dying to trade him at the moment, but if I get the right player, I'd absolutely.
It's a week.
It's 100%. I would trade
If
him.
they get the right guy, I'll pack his
we
bags.
be thirsty. We are thirsty for, if we get a young dude that's balling.
Yeah.
Oh, we all over him. No, you can't get rid of him.
I hear you.
He's the future.
I hear you. And right now, if I could get a good batter, get a good hitter, or get a good pitcher and not trade him, that would be preferable.
Right.
But I'm not going to let Angel Martinez, one good week, stop me from getting a good player.
Yeah.
That's it.
We literally did that topic yesterday, Bull.
Yeah.
Is he an untouchable prospect? No, I'm serious. We did.
That's crazy.
what?
What did the chat
Would
say?
you it then pivoted out of that. But
Okay.
the question was, is Angel Martinez, as he played his way into being an untouchable prospect?
I'm sure 40% of the fans said yes.
We did that yesterday?
Yeah.
Where were you?
He was sitting right next to me.
Yeah.
It was such a bad question. He don't even remember.
Yeah,
He just
CTE.
disregarded
Oh,
it.
it may have been Monday.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we did it.
I
Because
think it was
yesterday,
Monday.
Well, I was here Monday, and I
My question for
Yeah.
you, Bull, real
Yeah.
quick. And, G, you can answer this too, because Jason did answer this yesterday. Of all the Guardians prospects that have come up so far, who's been the most impressive in your mind?
all the guys just this year, not like guys.
Well,
that-
phrase it properly.
No, because I want to see if you think Jason's answer is valid or not. Who's been
Okay.
the Guardians' most impressive prospect this year?
So okay. I think Bo Naylor counts, right?
I don't think Bo Naylor counts.
Did he play a lot last
I mean,
year?
he wouldn't be the answer anyway, but I don't think. he
Does
counts.
Rocchio count?
To me, the guys who count are Freeman, Rocchio, Noel, Manzardo, Tanya, Martinez, Schneemann,
Cade Smith.
Cade Smith.
Notice he didn't mention Hunter Gaddis, Jason.
Hunter Gaddis is the most impressive one. That was my answer yesterday.
Didn't he play last
He's
year?
a rookie.
That's
How does
true.
he not count?
I was. How much did he pitch last year?
40
40
innings.
innings. So I didn't count him. I
don't know why I didn't count him.
Oh,
I
yeah,
thought
well,
he
he
pitched more
counts.
than that. But if he only pitched 40 innings,
He's
then
counts.
you'd include Hunter Gaddis, and then my answer would be Hunter
And
Gaddis.
it's a landslide, too.
Hunter Gaddis is right now is one of the top 5 setup guys in baseball.
Absolutely.
Borderline all-star
I
if
just
they
didn't
pick
count him as a
relievers.
prospect. That's why I went with Kate Smith.
What's
All right.
that?
I just didn't count Gaddis as like a
You
true
can't pick.
prospect.
Well, but how many more? I mean,
He pitched 40 innings last year. He
Yeah,
made
but
like 7 starts and
why is he not a
4 relief
prospect?
appearances.
Why would you say that? Because he pitched 40 innings?
Yeah, he had his prospect season was last year. Now
Nah,
he's a
it
full-time
doesn't.
Major
I don't
League
agree with
Baseball
that.
player.
40 innings is not enough.
If you didn't count him, I would take Schneeman by a hair.
I was actually thinking Schneeman until
By
Gaddis got
hair.
mentioned. By the way, and Gaddis pitched 40 innings as a starter last year. Wasn't he mostly a starter?
Mostly a starter.
So, and he was terrible. He looked awful
Yes.
as a starter.
Yes.
But yeah, Hunter Gaddis has been fantastic. Schneeman of the hitters has been the most impressive because Martinez, it's only been a week, so I
Right.
can't. I like what I've seen from Schneeman. I like what I've seen from Noel in his little time, and I like what I've seen from Martinez in his little time.
Yeah.
I have no interest in watching Gabriel Arias play anymore. Freeman, I'm fine with.
I'm so frustrated with Arias. I was such a big Arias guy.
He's a nothing.
But they have nothing to short. Who's your shortstop?
Right now, it's Martinez.
To answer your question,
Yeah.
Paul, earlier, we did the topic on Monday.
Yeah.
And when I asked the question, it immediately pivoted to they have to trade everybody and find a pitcher and a hitter.
100%.
And we never actually talked about Angel Martinez being an
Angel
untouchable prospect,
Martinez
but I did send it out on Monday.
Is not untradeable. That's stupid to think he's untradeable.
There's
Anybody that
nobody
says he's
that's
untradeable
untradeable.
doesn't know what he's talking about.
You know who's untradeable? Gavin Williams and Tanner Bybee.
So
they're untradeable.
You did ask that question Monday because I said, okay, well, in that case, would you trade Gavin Williams? And they're like, we're not
The
trading
only
him.
way I would trade Gavin Williams is if I was getting Tarek Skubal.
Fine.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Not the, or
I
not,
guess I shouldn't say untouchable
Right.
because there's no such thing as
yeah.
untouchable.
I told
the only
I'm
way I'm
hanging up
trading
the phone.
Williams is if I can get a pitcher that I probably can't get.
Right.
And then I threw this trade out. I don't know, Jason. See if you take it. I told him, if this is for an elite prospect. If I'm the other team, I want DeLauder, Manzardo, and Logan Allen.
I mean, Logan Allen, I don't care about at
For
all.
what?
Like if it's a starting rotation type.
DeLauder's considered the number 1 prospect in the organization. Manzardo's probably 2.
I need those.
Yeah, but I would trade. First of all, if I'm going to trade them both in the same trade, I got to get a boatload
I
in return.
can't think of the last time a team traded its top 2 prospects.
Right, that's not going to happen. But I'm saying,
I'm like saying,
in
I'm trying
theory,
to think,
if
it's probably the Expos and Bartolo Colon, frankly.
yeah. The only way you trade both of those guys in the same deal is if you're getting a superstar.
Yeah.
You're getting a superstar, not a good player.
Yeah.
Or you're getting 3 all-stars. Maybe not a superstar, but you're getting 3 all-star caliber players. You'd have to trade both of those guys. You'd have to get a lot. They're not. Neither of those guys are untradeable in the right deal.
I totally agree.
Yes.
I don't think they're trading Manzardo. I think they would trade DeLauder before
In a
they trade
minute,
Manzardo.
if you can get a right hitter or a really good starting pitcher,
But
I would
that's going
trade
to
him.
sound nutty to people because Kyle struggled when he came up here.
Right.
But I don't think they're in any rush to trade Kyle Manzardo.
I agree, but I would trade him in the right deal.
Oh, I would too. But
that's it.
But I don't think they're going to. Like I'm not expecting Kyle Manzardo to get moved in the next 3 weeks. That's not going to happen.
So the arms you're talking about that
Yeah.
you think that they need to put in the rotation to make them a serious contender for the World Series. You're saying that you can get one of those, you can get a guy like that and not trade Manzardo or one of your top prospects? Who are you going to trade?
Depends what the pitcher is. I mentioned Tarek Skubal. That's not realistic. The Tigers probably won't trade him, period. They almost 99.999% wouldn't trade him to the Guardians. If I could get Tarek Skubal, I'd trade anybody. There's no limit
The
to what I
two
would give
best
up.
young pitchers who may be on the block are both in the Guardians division, in Crochet and Skubal.
Right. But if it's that next level, if I'm getting Jamison Tyone from the Cubs, if I'm getting, what's his name from the Blue Jays? Who's
Gossman.
Well, I wasn't thinking about Gossman, but yeah, I was thinking about Chris Bassett. Like those guys are good pitchers.
Yeah.
Gossman's having a little bit of a down year. Yes, I would not give up Manzardo for those guys, but I would consider trading DeLauder to get those guys and another player.
Yeah.
Tyone and Gossman are different level too. I wouldn't trade DeLauder for Tyone. But I would trade DeLauder in a deal for Gausman or even Bassett if I'm also getting a hitter from Toronto.
Yeah.
Or maybe an arm in the pen. If I'm giving up my best prospect, I got to fill more than one hole or get a superstar.
Gee, it really comes down to the selling team.
Yeah.
the Guardians for years have gone really with sort of a quantity over quality when they're trading guys out, and they're taking. Go look at the Clevenger trade. They got back 4 or 5 guys. They got Josh Naylor. They got Cal Quantrill. They got Owen Miller.
Yeah.
So they diversified the portfolio because there's such a
They
miss
got Arias
rate.
in that trade, didn't they?
They did
Clevenger
get Arias.
trade, yeah.
So there's such a miss rate on prospects. They have shown over the years they would rather take 4 or 5 pretty decent prospects and trust their development system to get them over the top than to go all in on 1 or 2 guys who 1 or 2 arm injuries away and you have nothing to show for it. Right. But there are other teams who may disagree with that and who may value the high-end, top-end, I want one really, really good one as opposed to 3 or 4 maybes. So it really depends on the organization that's shipping them out and what their philosophy
it's also, is it a team that is, like if you're trading with the White Sox or the A's or the Marlins, those teams are far away from competing. They'd probably rather have the 4 or 5 prospects. If you're trading with the Cubs or the Blue Jays, those teams are closer to competing. They're going to be competitive next year. They're going to want the one higher end prospect.
And is the farm system depleted to where they need to restock the whole thing, or are they? Every team is different. And you're right. Some teams, even though it sounds nutty, may value a guy in High A as opposed to a guy in AAA. If they feel they're a couple of years out, they would take a better prospect who's a little bit younger and a little bit farther away.
The Cubs are a great trading partner, I believe, for the Guardians. The problem is, from the Guardians' perspective, is the Cubs are an organization, they have a top 5 farm system right now already. So they're not going to be looking for a lot of pieces. They're going to be looking for one guy that they target in a trade. But if you could get, in theory, Jameson Taillon and Bellinger, or Jameson Taillon and Nico Horner, or Jameson Taillon and Mark Leiter Jr. out of the bullpen. Like, that's worth giving up something for. Now, I really don't think the Guardians would have to give up either Manzardo or DeLauder for Taillon. But if you also got a big-time hitter, you'd have to probably give up one of those guys. Probably DeLauder. I think the Cubs have their first baseman. But they could use some young outfielders.
I think the Jays and the Rays are the 2 teams to watch. I think that they match up really well with both of those teams. The Jays and the Rays have what the Guardians need. Obviously, there's symmetry with those organizations. There's a long history with the Jays. They match up. They trade with the Rays all the time. The 2 organizations are very close. Those are the 2 that I'm watching for the next 3 weeks. The Jays have fallen out again. They need to probably make some moves and blow that up.
Toronto, who in Tampa?
Well, they got to move. They've got Shane Baz and Jeffrey Springs coming back in the next couple of weeks, so they have pitchers. They've already dealt Savali.
Well, Baz is already in the rotation now.
Yeah, but they've got who was it? Eflin, I think.
Yeah,
it could be on the move. There's a couple of guys. They're not top end.
I don't love their rotation right now,
but they are guys who can get you to October.
Yeah,
certainly.
Toronto's certainly got starting pitchers,
and the Rays with the Rosarina, Brandon Lau, who's been hurt.
Man, Rosarina's having such a bad season.
I know, but he's actually starting to.
And he's been clutch. He's always been a clutch.
He's starting to put the wheels back on a little bit. I just think those are 2 teams to watch.
Yep. Go ahead, Mike.
We're going to get back to the Guardians and spend the last hour of the show talking Guardians. We're going to get off and talk some Cavs and Browns real quick. But if you want to go to a Guardians game when they come back from the All-Star break, there's no better place to get your tickets online than the Game Time app. It makes buying tickets online so easy. And Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Plus, the prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. They have killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Helps make Game Time the best place to buy tickets of any sort and takes the guesswork out of purchasing said tickets. They have priority last-minute deals, flash deals, zone deals, all-in pricing. You can get a panoramic view from your seat on the app before you buy, and their lowest price guarantee. Make sure you get the best price, and if you find a cheaper ticket online, they'll credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Just download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Once again, terms apply. Create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
All right, Mike.
We'll talk a little Cavs here, guys. And as we are approaching the 2-week mark of the offseason, there are still moves to be made, but we figured right now, we've seen a bunch of different NBA tier rankings come out. I want to put a little spin on this. I look at tiers in a different way because this is not a ranking of 1 through 32. This is a ranking of where do you fit in the power structure of the NBA right now. And I'm going to run through my tiers, and you guys tell me if A, you agree with where the Cavs are placed, and then B, are any of these teams way off from where they should be? So instead of just doing tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, tier 5,
You
I
have
had a little
names
bit
for
of
these
a
tiers?
Yes, I do. I thought of this in a little different way. Before
All
we
right,
take
go
any
ahead.
of these graphics, let me explain it to you. The NBA is essentially a nightclub, an exclusive VIP nightclub. Mm-hmm. And if you want to be a true championship contender, that's getting into the nightclub. The nightclub, or whatever kind of club you want to envision it as, is the VIP exclusive group of teams that have reached the level of notoriety, indoor, overall good roster construction, front office, coaching staff, et cetera, to be in that exclusive category. If you're on the fringe, you're in line trying to get into the club. There are a few teams that have tried to get in and then got bounced. The bouncer said, no, you don't have the prerequisite information to actually get into the club. Then there's some teams that are in the Uber heading to the club. And those are the teams on the up and up but may not be in that next tier category.
Jeez.
Then there's the in limbo where you're arguing with your friends, do we go out or do we stay in? Those are the teams that are kind of stuck in the middle. And then there are the teams that are stuck at home and decided not to go out, and those are the teams that have no future and are essentially tanking. So we're going to run through it. It's a little easier to see. Anthony made some cool graphics for this.
Okay.
Tier 1, these are the championship contender teams. These are the teams who have made it into Club McNuggets.
All right.
And there's 6 teams.
I mean, what a cool name for a club, Club McNuggets.
I know, right? You have the reigning champs, the Boston Celtics. You have the Minnesota Timberwolves.
That looks like the Funky
Dallas
Buddha
Mavericks,
from back in the day.
the Thunder, and the Knicks. 6 teams, I believe, today, and this could all change with varying moves, but today, the 6 teams who have earned the right to be in Club McNuggets, the championship contender tier, are these 6.
That's interesting because there's one missing that I thought would be in there.
Where's Philadelphia at?
That's not the
I'll
one I
get
was
to
thinking
Philadelphia in
And,
one
and
sec.
3 of those teams have never gotten past the semifinals.
Doesn't mean they shouldn't be in the conversation.
All right.
So, G, you said the 76ers are missing. I'll explain them in a sec. Jason, who do you think's missing?
of. The Bucks.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, well, guess what? Those 2 teams are 2 of the 3 teams in line to get into the club. With, Steve, take the next graphic, your Cleveland Cavaliers. There's Bouncer Earl making sure no teams get in that aren't supposed to get in yet. I refuse to put the 76ers in a true championship contender category until Joel Embiid proves anything in the playoffs. He
I'm
can't
with
stay
you there.
healthy.
I'm not a Philly fan.
I'm not.
I've never been a Philly
You have
fan.
2 of the worst playoff-
Minnesota, the Knicks, and
That's harsh.
what have they proven in the playoffs?
That's harsh.
Beyond the first round.
Joel Embiid has literally never played in an Eastern Conference Finals. He can't stay healthy.
So neither is Minnesota.
Minnesota was
Neither
there
is
this year.
Oklahoma. Oh, Minnesota got to the Western Conference Finals.
Yeah,
Sorry.
and Oklahoma City was the best team in the West. And they
But
had
Oklahoma
arguably
City,
the
what have they
second-best
done?
offseason.
OKC is.
That's
I
but
like
they haven't
them a
proven
lot.
anything.
I'm not saying you got to prove it. I'm
And
saying
the
this is
Knicks
my
haven't
listen,
proven anything.
This is
They haven't
my
got past-
tiers.
they
These are
won-
my tiers. I'm not putting the 76ers.
These
with
is
Joel
my
Embiid till he
list.
proves anything.
Hey,
The Bucks have won a championship. The
Right.
Knicks have only won first-round series. That's ridiculous.
Well, if we're looking at championships, the Warriors, who won it 2 years ago, more recently, the Bucks should be in that line too by that logic. And guess what? They're in a way lower tier.
No, Giannis is in his prime. Steph Curry's not in his prime. That's a big difference.
They're in line trying to get in. They have to prove something before I want to put them in the category at the best.
Let me give you this. His list blows up.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I don't like when we do this.
Yeah.
We like to assume that injuries are only waivable by us in our team. We'll say, oh, well, we were hurt last year. Jared Allen was hurt last
Right.
year, so, we got to
But
put
the
us.
Bucks don't get a pass.
They don't get that pass.
Yeah.
Like, if Giannis and Embiid show up and they don't get hurt, you're in trouble. Like, those teams are definitely in the
I
mix.
just don't.
They're in line. That
I don't
means they
understand
can
why the
clearly
Bucks
get
have
in.
something to prove, but the Knicks don't. I don't understand that.
Right now, if you were to ask me who has a better chance to win the championship this year, the Knicks are a better team than the Milwaukee Bucks.
You may be right. However, that's not what you said. You said one team has something to prove, the other team.
I wouldn't necessarily.
I didn't say something to prove.
I wouldn't necessarily take any. I like the teams you have in the club. I wouldn't take any of them out. I think the Knicks do belong there. I would just add the Bucks to that. I do think the Bucks should be in that room.
Fair enough. That's why we're going to go back and forth
All
on
right.
where these rank. So those are the 3 teams I have, including the Cavs, by the way. It was the Cavs. Steve,
Yeah.
go back one more. Go back up to the teams in line. The Cavs, the Sixers, and the Bucks. Those are the 3 teams I think could very easily, if things go right, make their way into the championship conversation.
Can I ask you a question?
I'm just not ready to put them there yet. Shoot. What's up, G?
Are the Cavs third amongst those 3 teams?
These are not in any particular order, but in the case of this, yes, I do think they are behind Milwaukee.
I don't think they belong in the same group with those other two teams.
What's interesting, can you go back to the first? I think we should have started this at the bottom and worked up.
Sure should have.
Rather than
Dang
starting at
it,
the top
you're
and
right.
working
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, I agree.
You want to stop and then go from the
Yep.
bottom up now?
Well,
No,
we've
too
already
late.
seen the ending of the movie.
Too
You
late.
can't go back and watch it start.
Let's go to Group 3.
But no, I want to
Yeah.
see Group 1 again real quick. I just want to point something out. So, okay, so we got Boston and the Knicks from the East. And then when you go to Group 2, you got Milwaukee and Philly. So in Mike's mind, the Cavs are no better than 5th without home court advantage in the first round.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Wah, wah.
Whoa, Memer! I don't like this list.
Now, we still got to play out the year. Who knows
Yeah.
how it's going to go?
This is right now. This is before moves. You
Yeah.
know, this could change if the Cavs make a trade, if
Sure.
But
other
the,
things happen. But this is just right now.
the West is funny though, because if you look at the West teams, I would not be surprised if you said either Dallas or Minnesota lost in the first round next year.
Shouldn't Sacramento be on that second group?
Like they
So
could
here's-
lose.
Let's go to the next group because the
Yeah.
next group includes Sacramento. The next group is teams that got into line and then got denied. You tried to go for it, but even with the moves you've made, you are not in a position to actually compete for a championship.
That sounds like the Cavs, don't it?
exactly.
This is the Kings, the Suns, and the Lakers.
Oh, I like that. I like that bouncer. That's a good-looking bouncer.
Yep.
He looks angry. He's an angry elf. Yeah. I don't understand this list.
Those
The
are my-
Kings are a legit team on the
Yeah,
rise.
yeah,
The Lakers
yeah.
are Suns suck.
You think the Kings are a legit team on the rise?
Aren't they?
Those are my real arms.
Does
Listen,
DeMar DeRozan make them that much better?
I mean, yesterday, you guys, or 2 days ago, were talking about a bunch of slappies that would make the Cavs better. But DeMar DeRozan, didn't DeMar DeRozan score 23 points a game last year?
I mean, I just think that roster is completely flawed to begin with. They don't have any shooting. Their three best players don't shoot threes.
don't they got Keegan Murray? I'd love to have Keegan Murray. Don't they still have him?
Yeah, he's not one of the three best players, though.
All right.
Well, that means they're pretty good. If a player I want, he's not even their best three. They got Sabonis, they got De'Aaron
Listen, I
Fox,
think
they got DeMar
trying to make
DeRozan.
moves to establish themselves. I would just be
You're not
shocked
buying what they're
beyond
selling.
belief if the Kings. Yeah, exactly. I'm not buying what they're selling. It's
I just feel like the Suns and Lakers are old teams. They're uninteresting teams. At least, I know DeMar DeRozan is old, but he's not their
that's
best
the whole
player.
point. They are trying to get in, and Jason.
The
said,
Lakers
"No,
and
you're
Suns
not
are
in the same
completely
category."
uninteresting teams that I would never want to watch play.
You don't want to watch LeBron play. You don't watch Kevin Durant play.
I'm done
Devin
with
Booker?
them. I'm bored by them.
Bradley
They're old
Beal's
news.
boring. I give you that.
They're old news. I'm not interested in watching LeBron unless he's back on the Cavs. LeBron on Lakers is boring. He doesn't care about winning anymore, so why should I watch him?
Jason, what do you respond to that with?
About
Is LeBron being boring?
I'll always watch LeBron because the day's going to come when he's not out there anymore, and that'll be a sad day. So
I think the Kings can beat. I think the Kings can compete with Oklahoma City or
no, they cannot compete with Oklahoma
Yeah,
City.
you guys are way overrated.
Well, I didn't say that.
Way overrated.
Well, listen,
Oklahoma City is a problem. They are going.
Don't they have
be,
to prove something
they got.
first?
Hey, I ain't
But
seen
I'm
it.
just telling you, they've got 150 picks coming.
Yeah.
They're a team of young,
They got
athletic,
picks.
switchy guys.
They got Williams.
They
I
are
like
the
'em.
prototypical team for how you play in the NBA.
I
and
like
they're
'em.
young.
You're
they're cheap.
crowning their ass before they've done anything.
Who they lose to
I'm
last
just
year?
telling you. I'm just
Who they
waiting.
lose to? I don't remember. Minnesota?
They
Dallas?
lost to Dallas. And that's because P.J. Walker, that was the series that they made every corner three.
Dallas is going to go backwards, by the way.
I
Remember I
told-
said it first.
Dallas,
I said
I only put in the tier they're in because they were in the finals last year.
You know there's no chance that Kyrie stays healthy 2
G.
years
Bush
in a row.
just
No
literally said 5 stanzas ago
Yeah.
that Dallas could lose and Minnesota
Yeah.
could lose in the first round.
I agree.
I don't, listen, the West is going to be a gauntlet. Matchups are totally dependent
And
on
again,
the success
to
of these teams.
To that point, parity is here in the NBA.
That's
It
a good
is
thing.
here.
That is good. Yeah.
Okay, I don't disagree, but then don't bitch about the NBA Finals being uninteresting because that's what parity gives you.
Yeah.
You know what
it
I mean?
does.
You can't have it both
Yeah.
ways.
People said it was a trash NBA finals.
The finals was uninteresting because it was a domination by Boston.
Well, the finals were uninteresting. People were complaining going into it that
Yeah.
it wasn't these
Yeah.
sexy teams.
I ain't watching that.
But that's what you get with parity. The difference with the NFL is the NFL is a marketing machine and everybody loves football.
Yeah.
So parity's fine there. You know, it's they love it. But in the NBA, it is a star-driven league, and the league has gone out of its way to break up the stars, which is fine. It levels the playing field for everybody, and that's great. But then don't come around and bitch that you don't like the matchups, or the matchups are uninteresting in the
I
finals.
thought the matchup was fine. It just turned out to be a bad series because Dallas couldn't compete and Kyrie played like a
There's
dog.
a lot of people who are not interested in watching that.
That's true. All right, Mike.
Okay, tier
I don't like
4
your tears
is-
at all. I'm anti your tears.
I love when you and me disagree, Bull. Nothing's better than proving you wrong when we're talking basketball. It brings a big smile to my face.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Tier
Warms
4
your
is
cockles.
in the Uber to the club. So teams on the way up, but I don't think they're in that same category yet. And that includes the Memphis Grizzlies, the New Orleans Pelicans, the Rockets, who I'm buying stock in this year, the Pacers and the Magic. And you can tell me the Pacers should be a tier higher. And I'll tell you, I think they got extremely lucky with injury history in the postseason last year.
In a way, this is a better tier than tier 3. Like, you think more highly of these teams than
No,
you
that's
do.
why I said it's not a direct ranking. It's not a direct
right.
ranking. This is just the more category.
Who's driving that car, by the way?
Scott.
Hopefully not Ollie Gordon, the Oklahoma State running back, or Mike Gundy.
Dang, bro.
Mike Gundy
What a
wears.
line.
Is that a wig that Mike Gundy
No,
wears?
it's his real hair, but what an idiot.
Are you sure it's his real hair?
Yeah, I've seen him in person a couple of times.
You're
What an
saying
idiot.
what an idiot, like we haven't known he's an idiot for years.
No, I know, but what he said yesterday was so stupid.
What did he say? I don't even know what he said about the DU. About the kid.
He's like, oh, everyone's done it before. It's not that big of a deal.
He said he didn't suspend the guy because he's done that 1,000 times.
Yeah, what an idiot.
I mean, a lot of people have done it. To be fair,
I mean,
it's stupid for him to say that.
He should have just been like, hey man, listen, he's the best player on my team. I'm not suspending him for nothing. Like, because that's basically what he meant.
It's professional sports. I don't care if he suspends him. Why
right,
would you suspend the guy? You don't have to.
Pull that list back up. We'll get back
Go
on
ahead, Mike.
topic.
I like that list. I think this is a good
That's
one.
a hodgepodge. It's weird. Like I like Orlando way more than I like Indiana.
I do too.
But once again, real quick, G, this is not. If I wanted to go like 1 through 32, I don't think they're next to each other. But in the we're trying to improve but not there yet category,
Yeah.
I think they kind of fit into the same.
Memphis
realm
is
like that.
weird because they were like,
Top of the tier.
yeah,
top of the
not that
food.
long ago. And then Josh sort of unraveled that whole thing.
The Pelicans, they're kind of stuck in the mud a little bit.
I'm not a big New Orleans fan.
Yeah, this kind of feels more like a stuck in the mud group, except for Orlando.
Yeah.
No, Houston's not stuck in the mud.
All right, maybe
Houston's on the way up.
And I think Houston needs to
On
be
the
on the
way
way
up.
to the. I think Houston needs to be like, is we going out? Are we going out tonight?
They're in the Uber. That's
Like,
the whole
they're in
point.
the Uber. All
They're
right,
going out.
next group.
The next group is we're arguing should we go out or not, which is essentially the we don't know what the hell we're doing group, which is the Atlanta Hawks, the Golden State Warriors, the Miami Heat, and the Los Angeles Clippers. Are we in? Are we out?
Mm-hmm.
And this is Anthony arguing with Anthony.
The only thing I don't disagree. The only beef I have with this is Miami and Golden State are well-run organizations. The Clippers and Atlanta are not. And so for some reason I feel like they need to be separate, but
I think the Clippers, I like their leadership.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. I like it a lot.
But are they going for it right now? They just let Paul George walk.
Yeah, I didn't understand that move. Really, like, you hear Paul George talk about it. It came down to like
They wouldn't give him a fourth
money.
year.
They wouldn't give him like the extra. And I'm like, well, dude, you moved heaven and hell to get Paul George and Kawhi Leonard there, and then after Kawhi Leonard was hurt most of the time, you're blowing it up. Like I thought they had to go all in and double down on that. Like I don't know why they let him walk.
all right, in the final
And
tier.
the last tier, and the Spurs don't belong in this tier, but they also didn't belong anywhere else. This is the we're staying at home, we suck tier, which is the Spurs who don't really belong, but they didn't fit anywhere else. The Blazers, the Jazz, the Bulls, the Pistons, the Warriors, the Nets, the Raptors, and the Hornets, which is not a lot of debate here. They all suck.
Is anybody else besides the Spurs? Could you have created another category with the Spurs and one of these other teams? Like
No, the Spurs are. I mean, the Jazz have assets.
the Bulls are just a nothing organization. The Bulls and Pistons, once great organizations, are nothing.
Couldn't you argue the Spurs should be 2 up
In the Uber,
with
but
Orlando?
they're not like even if
They're
they
too
hit
far
all
away?
their things, I still think they're just too far away to be
nah.
in the Uber.
I think Wemby puts them in the Uber.
I think Wemby put them in an Uber, and I like them better than Houston. I like their
you think they're
parts.
better than Houston?
Yes.
Interesting.
But
Interesting.
they're far.
I just think they're further away.
Yeah. I'm
Fair.
with you. I would have put them almost in their own category.
I just don't think
I
they
put in the
belong
note
here.
to Anthony with this. The Spurs are at the top of the list. If there's some way to represent their leaving home, do it. If not, don't worry about it. So, yeah.
Can I see that one more time? I just want to see that one more time.
The bottom one?
Yeah, the
Steve,
bottom
let's
one.
take the last one again.
The Spurs have walked out the door, maybe,
Yeah, exactly.
while the other teams are still in the house.
As Jason's looking at this, and you can pull up the graphic,
Yeah.
Cavs in the right spot or the Cavs too high? In line to get into the club.
My
Cavs
problem
too
with
high.
is I can't have the Cavs and the Bucks in the same
Cavs too high.
category.
I'm just looking at that. Like, Charlotte's a mess. Brooklyn's a mess. Chicago's a mess. Detroit's a mess.
Trailblazers
Washington's a
is
mess.
nasty.
Washington's a mess.
Toronto?
I don't think they're a mess.
No.
I don't know enough about Portland to know if they're a mess. Utah, I like their leadership. I like Utah's leadership.
They just got a hodgepodge of players. So it just seems like they got a bunch of
They're in no man's land with that.
Yeah. Okay, go back to Cavs. So Cavs are.
Cavs are in tier 2 in line with Milwaukee and Philly. That's where I had the Cavs.
I think that's fair. Like I said, I would put Milwaukee in the club. I do think the Cavs are in line.
And who's Group 3 again? Let me see Group
Who's
3.
behind them?
Yeah.
These are the teams that got denied from the club.
I
would
feel
not-
like the Cavs are with Sacramento, like in their own group.
I kind of
It's like they're good. They're not quite as good as the teams ahead of them. They're better than the teams behind them.
They got some names.
They have maybe a weird chemistry, same as Sacramento.
Yeah, like
So good but not good enough? Is that the category you're trying to create?
I think I would put Sacramento and the Cavs in a Group 3 by themselves. For me.
Gee, what do you think?
I would, if you wanted to say they're in the club, but they don't get bottles in VIP sections, like they're at the bottom with the regular people.
They're in like the welfare section of the
yeah.
Gen
club.
Pop?
Yeah, general population. They got wristbands on, and you look up and they're like, "Oh my God, there's Drake." Yeah, like, yeah, they if you want to put them in the club, they're not getting
I
bottles.
didn't put them in the club. I had them on the outside looking
I
in.
think I like the Cavs better than the Kings.
I do too, for the record.
I think the upside is higher. It's not perfect, but I do think that the upside is higher for the Cavs than the Kings. I really like the Kings coach. Like, I've never hit that. I think Mike Brown's really good. I think he's really, really good.
The Sixers have never gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Not with Embiid.
I'm telling you, man, Philly's a fraud. They are a total fraud.
I just feel like
Paul George and Embiid are two of the biggest fraud postseason performers there are, and now they're teammates.
I just feel like you can't have the Cavs in the same level with Philly and Milwaukee. I don't think
I would put Milwaukee in the club. I don't like Philly at all.
But they're better than the Cavs.
Are they?
Yeah, I think Joel Embiid, when he's healthy, is unstoppable.
They
shown
have
that.
2 stars. The Cavs have 1, and while they've not proven much in the playoffs, they've done more than the Cavs have.
So
You could argue Tyrese Maxey is the 3rd star.
That's true.
And if you're picking players between the three,
Tyrese Maxey's better than anybody on the Cavs besides Donovan.
I was going to say, you
Facts.
can make that argument. You can
Yeah.
make that argument.
Is there even an argument?
I would take Maxey over any
I'm
of the
saying,
three.
who would you defend? Who would be the argument that's better than Maxey?
I
on
mean,
the
they
Cavs?
People would argue. I would take Maxey.
But
I'm
who
saying-
would argue? Who? What player?
I'm telling you, I agree with you, Bull. I would
No.
take
But I'm
Maxey
saying,
third.
which of the Cavs players would somebody
Oh,
try
I'm sure
to argue?
someone would argue for Mobley if they wanted to.
Mobley better than Maxey? Come on.
I am picking Tyrese Maxey.
I hear
I'm
ya.
with you.
and if you take a look at that, if you say who the best 5 players or 4 players on the court,
Yeah.
they got 3 out of 4.
Right.
3 out of the 4 best players
Yeah.
in the series.
That's
And,
what they're in the same tier.
Milwaukee's won a championship with
Because
and
of
you
Giannis in his prime,
Yeah.
you've always got a chance, especially in this era of parity. So I'd have Milwaukee in the club.
Fair enough. We're going to talk Evan Mobley for 2 minutes real quick. We'll make this real quick because I want to get in some Nick Chubb conversation before we bring on our MLB Draft expert. But we appreciate everyone for tuning in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. It does a lot for us on the back end. Yesterday, Brian Windhorst was on ESPN Radio here in Cleveland. I would play the clip if Tag Board and Social News Desk would work.
By the
but it's
way-
not working.
Speaking of ESPN Cleveland, my man Aaron Goldhammer apparently said one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. That
I have no idea what you're talking about. I
he
didn't see it.
apparently said, I got to double check this, that
You might want to double check it before you say it.
no,
Oh, is it the
Let me
Chet
fact.
Holmgren
Let me
thing?
fact it.
no, he said
fact
Deshaun
check
Ready, fire,
Watson's
aim.
second half was the best half of football by a Browns quarterback since '99. I'm pretty sure he said that.
I don't think it was Goldhammer who said that. I'll find who said it.
Which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, I would disagree.
Well,
By the way,
we can save that.
Baker's had at least 10 halves better than Deshaun Watson's second half against Baltimore. At least 10.
Baker's first half against
And I
Kansas
can't
City
stand
was
Baker.
elite.
What's that?
Baker's first half at Kansas City, week 1.
He played a second half against the Bengals once where he got the game-winning touchdown.
Yeah.
He threw like 4 touchdowns in the second half.
All right.
It's absolutely ludicrous. Go ahead.
Windy was on ESPN Radio in Cleveland, and if social news desk would work, I would play the clip. But he had mentioned that Evan Mobley was invited to the Team USA select team last year, which is the team that practices against the World Cup team and the Olympic team and gets that full training camp experience. And Mobley reportedly declined the invite. Just real quick, we'll go around the horn. Can you think of a good reason as to why Evan Mobley may have declined that invitation? Jason, you want to start?
Donovan declined from Team USA because he was concerned about his minutes usage coming into
This year?
the season that just concluded.
Yeah.
He turned down Team USA last year because he was concerned with how much JB was going to use him last season and didn't want to commit to a full summer this summer. I have no idea what Evan's reason.
I think this is worse, turning down a select team for a young player.
Unless Evan felt like he can get better on his own, developing on. There is no logical reason. I didn't know that. I didn't know. Like when Brian said that, I hadn't heard that about Evan. I think he should have taken the opportunity. It's a great opportunity for young players to be around Olympians, to be around high-level elite basketball. But I don't know that you're necessarily training. Like if you're trying to get better as a three-point shooter, I don't know that training on the U.S. select team is going to do. You know what I mean? If there's one specific thing that you're working on for your game, I don't know that opportunity is going to enhance it. But I do think the overall experience of being there is a greater benefit that outweighs that.
Yeah.
Dang, man, I try not to go to that, man, but I would have liked to see you do it just for the competition alone. You know what I'm saying? The competitive nature of I need to gauge myself on a day in, day out level against the best people in the world, right? And to go up against those individuals, and yeah, you're not on the regular squad, but to even prove, like, look, people talk about, Cooper Flagg. He's all over the internet.
He's going to be a freshman, right?
Yeah,
and he's
correct.
he's
killing it in this
he's
thing.
giving them buckets, and people are like, oh, this boy right here gonna be nasty.
Is he the next great player, this kid?
Yeah, that's why the Nets got their picks back and traded Mikal Bridges.
Oh, he's going to be the first pick in the draft next year?
In the draft.
And so I'm looking at this, and a 17-year-old kid ain't even played no college ball. I'm like, man, you need to be in basketball. If you want to be in the club, so to speak, with McNuggets, you got to have your life ready. You got to have your money right, your fit right. The Balenciagas is on. You better have your chains and the jewelry. You can't come up in here with these Dockers on and these Levi Strausses. Like, come on, listen. He should have been in that mix, being like, I'm down there with Anthony Davis. I'm down there with Embiid. I'm down there, guys that. And guess what? Here's the thing about being rich and a basketball player. When you leave there, you have a thing called a personal trainer that can fly with you. You have a personal trainer that can, if you want to put him up in a hotel, and after practice is done, you can still put up 3,000 shots. So you could do two things at once, dog. Like you can still work on your individual game and get that value right there. Come on, man.
I'll leave the small caveat that there's a legitimate reason that he didn't want to do it. Maybe we're not thinking of whatever it is.
Maybe parent, family, I don't know.
But if this is just he didn't want to do it, that's beyond lame.
I have a hard time believing it's that.
Well, I just can't see what it could be. I mean, what kind of a commitment is it? Do you guys know this?
Jason would know better than I would, to be honest.
I mean, it's right now. They're
For
out
how
there right
long?
now. About a month. 3 weeks.
1 month?
3 weeks, I think.
Not even a month? Like, what is he doing?
I don't know. I mean, he's working. There's clips of him out working out right now. And
Okay, fine.
He's in LA right now working out with
I mean, aren't these other young guys going to find the time to work out and improve their game too?
Which is why
you have a chance. Like, you're a young player who's unproven, who's been to some degree a disappointment in his first 3 years in the league.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you? I mean, if I were him, I can't imagine why I would pass up an opportunity to play against the best players on the planet for a month.
Yeah, I don't know.
We've used this expression, all of us have, at one time or another in the show. Iron sharpens iron,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
This was the ultimate chance of that. And he said, no thanks. It's just another indicator that
it's about
he's not all in or whatever.
You watch these players in the thing that I watch, and I even watch their shoot-arounds and stuff, I love the fact that when you see these guys practicing, they're out here trying to assassinate one another. They're doing a one-on-one drill. Kevin Durant won't miss. I just saw something where KG was playing one-on-one full court.
KG?
This was back when the old Olympic films, because I'm watching the Olympics. KG was going one-on-one with Vince Carter, full court one-on-one.
Love it.
Jason Kidd.
Well, even back in the day with Bird and Magic and all those, and Jordan, those guys were killing each other.
Remember
the practices,
those
legendary
practices
of the Dream Team. The
Why would
original
you not
Dream
want to
Team.
be a part of that?
Well,
That's crazy.
But that is not with the select.
I hear you. That's different.
Those
but
were guys just going at it.
But still, this is on some level
Yes.
the
Yes.
most similar you can get.
Yes.
I mean, that's crazy.
I mean, Kyrie did this. Kyrie was on the select team when he was. That's where the famous clip of him and Kobe, where they were going to play one-on-one, and Kyrie was saying, "You have to guard me." It was a viral before viral.
It's
existed.
the incredible clip where he dribbles between his legs, and Darius Garland was on the select team.
Darius was on the
screaming
select
about the
team
earth
for you.
being flat, all kinds of things.
Think about it. If you're Mobley, you can. What better way to be like, oh, listen, you want me that perimeter game? I'm eating up all KD's time. KD, I need to play one-on-one right now. I need that hesitation pull up in my package. Hey, you can play. You can go and just say, you know what? I'm playing guards.
Yeah.
I want to learn how to be on the perimeter. I'm sure if you go to the coach and say, hey, look, I'm trying to get better at X, Y, and Z. I want to play 3 in this pickup game. I want to guard the KDs. I want to guard the LeBrons. I want to feel what it is to be out on the floor with nobody. And plus, I'm scouting too, boo.
Yeah.
You got Jason Tatum. You got Jaylen Brown. You got Drew Holiday. You got all these dudes, the guys that you know you got to get past.
Yeah, and we look at him like he's not a dog. And this is another example of that.
I'm over there scouting. I'm picking up all the little nuggets I can get. I'm sorry, bro. Hopefully it's a good reason. It might be.
Yeah.
There might be a legitimately valid reason, and if it is, so be it. But there's a quote from Peyton Pritchard, who's on the select team, by the way, he gave this quote yesterday. I want to read it word for word. Quote from Peyton Pritchard: "I don't understand anybody who wouldn't want to be here. You get to go against the best players in the world to see where your game's at, take things from the best, learn from the best, and keep adding to your game on a daily basis. It's the best competition in the world. I can't imagine why anyone wouldn't be here who was asked to be here." End quote.
I mean, that's an indictment of Evan Mobley right
Now,
there.
that was not in relation to Mobley
I
whatsoever.
know, but it is an indictment of Evan Mobley. And the Cavs, I was arguing the other day against G and Earl about, like, hey, I got to be patient with the Cavs. And the best hope for the Cavs to make a significant jump is that Evan Mobley becomes a star. Well, this is an indicator that maybe that's not that important to him. I don't know.
Now, it is worth pointing out, he's posted videos each of the last 3 days working out with his personal trainer.
Yeah, I don't give a shit about
his
that.
Threes. No, I'm just saying, it's not like he is showing that he is working. It's just what's a better avenue to improve his game? Being on Team Select USA or working by himself?
Is it the same personal trainer he's had for the last 3 years that hasn't improved his offensive game?
Don't you do that.
I don't know. G, what were you saying?
Yeah, sorry, G. Go ahead.
What were you saying?
Is it the same guy that got him shooting 32 per? No, I'm saying. You crazy. No, I'm just saying, but can't you do, if it's me, I'm sure LeBron got his team with him. Is LeBron's team with him?
Team is in.
Like he got his personal guy somewhere stashed away to do some nutrition or whatever the case may be.
Yeah, Mike Mancias is with him wherever he goes.
That's what I'm saying. If I'm Mobley and I'm in training camp, I got my guy with me anyway.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, when we done with this, we gonna go eat, we gonna go lift, we gonna get some food. Then we gonna go back and I'm gonna get that night session. And I know that's what they doing. They got guys that's probably breaking down film in the night session. They got guys playing one-on-one in the sessions. They doing a bunch of stuff. I gotta be.
It's a terrible look for Evan Mobley. He's 21 years old.
I gotta be in the mix.
I mean, he should be. I mean, that's just crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for him to be there. If it was up to me in a perfect world, I would love to see Evan Mobley with the Team USA select team getting ready for this Olympic run to prepare the guys who are going to Paris, who start their worldwide exhibition tour tomorrow night, I believe, against Team Canada, which is also loaded with NBA talent. So, and I was just doing some research. There's a bunch of dudes who had been on the select team who talked about the experience being life-changing for them. So,
do the women have a select team also?
I'm sure they do.
I can't believe Caitlin Clark's not on the squad.
She didn't deserve to be.
What you mean?
She's not one of the 12 best players in the country.
Like Drew Holiday ain't either. He on the squad.
Oh, Drew Holiday's on that? Why is Drew Holiday on there?
Because he fit a role.
Leadership, defense.
She fits a role. Her role is knockdown shooter and the most famous female basketball player.
Her role is to bring eyeballs.
That's
to
it.
Yeah, that's true.
Come on over
I mean,
here.
she probably should have gotten in for the eyeball. She's not one of the 12 best
I
players.
would have,
Right
if I'm all the rest of the people on the team, I'm like, we need her there because when she's there, that equates to eyeballs. Eyeballs equate to endorsements,
true.
and endorsements lead to my pockets being inflated. I need that.
By the way, I hate both sides of the Caitlin Clark people. I hate the extremists on both sides. They're both awful.
That's
F
most
those
things
people.
in this world.
Yeah, then I hate those people too.
When is
No,
that-
it's not, Jason. That's the problem. Most people are in the middle.
No.
But the middle people are quiet.
No,
It's the extremes that are
It's
idiots.
widening.
You said you hate the extremists on both
Yeah,
sides.
yeah.
I said that's most things in this world.
Oh, yeah.
You hate the extremists on
Yes,
both sides.
But that gap is widening, though.
I don't care about that right now. When's that U.S.-Canada game?
It's 10:30 p.m. tomorrow night. I believe.
10:30 p.m.
Well,
What's that all about?
7:30 in Vegas.
Who's
That's in Vegas, right?
Vegas, baby, Vegas.
I mean, just really
no,
quickly.
I think it's. I'll look it up, but then they travel to Abu Dhabi for 2 games.
Canada should be really good.
Not yet, though.
Canada
I don't
should.
think.
Canada,
Or maybe-
who's on that Canada
Mike is
roster?
not on top
Wait,
of it here.
SGA.
we're talking. I'm confused now.
Yeah.
I'm talking men. That's men, right? U.S.-Canada tomorrow.
The men play
Yeah.
Canada,
Okay.
but I don't know where the game is.
I thought that was
Doesn't
Vegas.
matter. Doesn't matter, Mike.
Could be Vegas. All right,
Who
well, we
cares?
got our guest, so we're going to bring in our next guest, talk a little MLB draft. And we're going to bring in Joe Doyle in 1 sec after a quick word from FanDuel. You guys know I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer and fewer games, and the sports just aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right, there's something for everyone every day all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com/UCSS and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel, an official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball and the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And with that, we're going to welcome on Joe Doyle, an MLB draft expert from the Future Stars series. Joe, thanks for joining us today. How you doing?
I'm good, fellas. How we doing today?
Joe,
great.
Joe, before we get started,
Yeah.
I was talking to Mike before the show, and before we can have any sort of conversation about the Guardians and the number 1 overall pick, I think if you can explain slot money and contract money, because people who are in Cleveland have PTSD from Dolan spending, and they hear this guy would cost less, and they immediately think, well, it's the Dolan's at it again. And
It's unacceptable either way.
But I just wanted
Go
to
ahead.
explain
Go ahead.
the draft, because I think this lays the groundwork for the rest of the conversation of who they're looking at and why, and what slot money means, and then what you do with that money later on in the draft if you can sign a guy for less at the top.
Yeah, so very, very quickly, in layman's terms, every team is given a certain amount of money that they are allowed to spend in any one given draft. If you go over that amount, you are penalized in different ways. So you are almost never going to find a team that doesn't spend their full amount. Now, when people say take a deal or underslot or pay someone a little bit less in the first round, all it means is they're moving money around. So if they save $1 million or $1.5 million on the number 1 pick in the class, it means they can spend that money elsewhere. And what do I mean by elsewhere? Well, players in high school have more leverage to ask for more money because they can still go to college and hope to improve their draft stock. So if Cleveland wants to go after a high ceiling high school pitcher, for example, in the 3rd round that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to afford, saving some money with the number 1 overall pick allows them to do that. So it's what makes, at least in my opinion, it's what makes the MLB draft the most fascinating draft, because it's not always the quote unquote best player available. It's how can we maximize our bonus pool and how can we get the most talent in one giant class.
But Joe, to me, when you have the first pick in the draft, we're not talking about pick 20 or 15. When you have the first pick in the draft, to not take the best player to me is stupid. I don't care if you have more money to spend in the 3rd round, 2nd round, 4th round. You have a chance to get the best player, and it's clear at least that there's most people seem to think at least there's 2 guys that are clear line of demarcation after the top two guys. I don't know if you agree with that, but that's everything I've read. That seems to be the case. So if the Guardians went any lower than one of those two guys, just to have more money to spend in a later round, to me that's stupid. Do you agree or no?
I think in any other year, I would agree. I mean, if you look back at the 2023 draft, you got Paul Skeens, you got Dylan Cruz. Those are prohibitive, conventional, traditional, number one overall prospects. They play center field, 6'6" on the mound. Like, they check every box, right? What Cleveland is choosing from this year is it's not an especially sexy draft, right? There is no Bobby Witt Jr. in this class. There is no Adley Rutschman in this class.
Okay.
Cleveland is choosing from a college second baseman, which I can't stress this enough. In the history of the draft, we have never seen a second baseman drafted number one overall. And he's coming from the Pac-12, which everyone has their opinions on. And then on the other side of things, you have Charlie Condon, who, it's kind of hard to poke holes in Charlie Condon other than his home and road splits are just very, very extreme. So to answer your question, if there was a no doubt bombshell superstar type prospect, I think it would make the Cleveland Guardians selection a whole lot easier. But because there's not that, really that stud out there in conventional terms, I think they have the ability to kind of, pick and choose who they want. Because here's the thing. I think the difference between Spazana, who's talked about a lot as the number one pick from Oregon State, and J.J. Weatherholt, the shortstop from West Virginia, the difference between those two, while one guy gets a ton of headlines and the other doesn't, is actually quite marginal. One guy just had a hamstring injury all year and the other guy didn't.
I mean, that's fair. If you're the evaluator, in your opinion, those guys are neck and neck. And if the Guardians feel the same way, then I'm with you. Then it's not stupid. You're right. If you feel like the two prospects are neck and neck, then yeah, it makes sense to take the guy you could sign for less and be able to use it later. We don't know that they feel the same way that you do, but it'll be interesting. And it's an interesting point. Obviously, we knew there was no Paul Skeens in this draft, but I didn't realize that it was as dramatic as you said. But obviously, you follow this really closely. If it were up to you, or if you were evaluating, forget the money, who do you think is going to be the best player in this draft?
I really do think, and I'm not trying to hedge, I do think it's a toss-up between Chase Burns and Charlie Condon. And the one thing that you cannot teach in any one draft is size. I mean, Travis Bazana is never going to be 6'6". He's never going to have the levers and the raw power that Charlie Condon does. And then on the other side, Chase Burns has 101 mile an hour fastball. He's throwing 90 mile an hour sliders. He's throwing 86 mile an hour curveballs, and he throws strikes. And he's been doing it for 3 years. So in those respects, I think either one of those guys in different ways are going to end up being the top player in the class. But again, as you compare those two players to the guys from here, you certainly wouldn't take a Chase Burns over a Paul Skeens, and you compare a guy like Charlie Condon who has his limitations. He's going to play right field or he's going to play an average third base. You sack him against a guy like Dylan Cruz or Wyatt Langford, and you can kind of understand where I'm coming from. I mean, you will. I think Cleveland will take the player that they believe is the best player available, and because the number one pick in any draft has no leverage, they will get probably $400,000-$600,000 off what that signing bonus of $10.5 million is. So they're going to get a deal in any way, shape, or form. But Bazana in the 2023 draft probably is the number 5 or 6 pick, and Condon last year is probably the number 4 or number 5 pick. So it's just not as star-studded and dynamic at the top as I think Cleveland would hope, but they're still going to take the best player available, and they're still going to get a haircut.
Joe, you look at Ohtani and the rise of guys pitching and hitting and doing both. Are there any guys in this draft or that are coming up that could possibly be, not saying that Ohtani, but teams would look at letting them pitch as well as hit?
Yeah, so I think the guy that you're referring to is Jack Caglione. He's the first baseman and left-handed pitcher from the University of Florida. He's up to 99 from the left side. But here's the thing. His bat has been so special this year. And just not to get too far into the weeds, but Caglione swung at 57% of the pitches this year. That's extremely high. He chased outside of the zone 36% of the time. That's extremely high. And he still found a way to run a 9% strikeout rate, all while hitting 35 homers. I mean, making sense of that math doesn't even make sense. It's a special bat. I think the bat is actually so special that teams are just going to say, to hell with letting him pitch. He still throws quite a few pitches outside of the zone. There's command and control issues. I think you look at it this way. If you put Caglione on the mound and he hurts his elbow, well, then you're taking the bat out of his hands like you did with Bryce Harper and Jason Dominguez and some of these guys that got hurt with Tommy John. And I think it really slows his offensive track. So chances are Caglione projects as a bullpen piece. And if that's the case, I think you just put a bat in his hands and say, hey, why don't you just become the most prodigious slugger you can, show what you've continued to show at the University of Florida, and let's see how quickly you can move.
Joe, do you think this epidemic of arm injuries will have any impact on drafts moving forward, just in terms of the value of pitching? Obviously, everybody needs pitching. But if it's close, would the team start to lean hitter over pitcher just because at this point it's inevitable everybody's going to have Tommy John surgery at some point? Or does that not factor into it?
I think the only thing that I've noticed over the last 6 or 7 years of covering this is the high school righty that has size and is throwing 99. He's not always a top 5, not always a top 10. In fact, sometimes they're not even a first-round pick. I mean, last year, I'm trying to remember who drafted him, but there was a kid out of the state of Texas, 6'6". His name is Travis Sikora. He was 97 to 99 all the time. I mean, it was always upper 90s fastball. And I think if you looked at the late 90s, you looked at the early 2000s, that kid's off the board in the top 5 picks. No question about it. He's 6'6". He's a righty. He's a high school arm. He's up to 99. He's going to be a horse, right? I think there's some trepidation with that now with, teams looking at this epidemic and going, would we rather have a kid that is throwing 99 as a 16 or 17-year-old, or would we rather have the kid who is maybe a little bit smaller and was 92 as a sophomore, 94 as a junior, and then he's touching 95, 96 with some projection as a high school senior? Some of these kids that are throwing ultra hard at the early stages of their career are getting poked at a little bit because the risk with injury is so high. So I think it's going to continue to progress over the years as the draft and research and development and understanding of injuries continues to evolve. But to answer your question in a more succinct way, it's definitely had an impact on some of those younger guys that are already throwing super hard.
Real quick, can you just give us the overall view of Weatherholt, only because ESPN, I know a couple weeks ago, put him out as who they thought Kylie put it out as the number 1 pick, and everyone was like, JJ Weatherholt. Because all we'd ever heard was Condon and Bizana. So just a quick overview of Weatherholt's game and why he would be in contention for that number 1 pick. And also the fact that it's all hitters, and we know the Guardians' history with pitching, but we haven't really, you mentioned Burns, but there really hasn't been a whole lot of talk about a pitcher going number 1. It's all hitters.
Yeah, well, with my recent mock draft, I actually did mock Chase Burns to the Guardians. I think nobody's talking about it, but I think it's a very real possibility. And I think, especially if Chase Burns is willing to take a haircut to save $1 million to go number 1, I think it's definitely in the cards. But to answer your question on J.J. Weatherholt, I think the most important place to start and to remember is J.J. Weatherholt almost unanimously on February 1st was the number 1 prospect in this draft. He quickly hurt his hamstring. He missed 7 or 8 weeks. And that cost him to tumble a little bit. And it wasn't even really that he wasn't performing. It was just the war of attrition. Travis Bizana passed him because he was playing so well. Charlie Condon passed him because he was playing so well. But every time J.J. Weatherholt has been on the field, he's posted elite metrics. He's the only one of the group that can play shortstop. I compared his shortstop defense. Again, this is not going to be the most dynamic player at shortstop, but David Fletcher was able to play a really solid shortstop for the Angels for several years when Andrelton Simmons was struggling with injuries. That's the sort of defender I think you're looking at. But, it might be the sweetest swing in the class. It's juice to all fields. He can put the ball out of the ballpark to left center. Like Bizana, he's 5'11". He's not the most physically imposing player. And I think the only thing that you have to question about JJ, and it's the only risk that people are really talking about, is that hamstring injury. He missed most of Team USA last fall. He didn't really play the field because of the hamstring injury. Comes back after 3 months of rehabbing it, 4 months of rehabbing it, and injures it in like the 3rd or 4th week of the season. So as long as Cleveland feels good about that hamstring, there's really not a big separator between him and Bazzana. They're extremely similar players. Bazzana pulls the ball a little bit more than Weatherholt does, but in my eyes, I think it's almost a positive, a guy that uses the whole field a little bit more than Bazzana does.
Seems like there's not much of a difference. It could go any way between 1 and 5. That these top 4 hitters and
That's dangerous to me because
and
there's
a
going to be
pitcher,
some
yeah.
busts in there.
Yeah, there will be. There always is.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm curious, Joe. With the Guardians have what's the next picks? Mike, 36 and 48.
36 and 48.
Some names to think about in that range that you like.
Yeah, so I think that's going to be the most exciting part of this Cleveland draft. I know the number 1 pick is going to get all the headlines, but people don't understand how much money Cleveland has in this draft. Even if they gave Travis Bazzana or Charlie Condon $10.5 million, they would still have like $8.5 million to spend the rest of the way. So some guys that I like for Cleveland, and I think the crazy thing is, and I think you can expect this, guys that are ranked in the 20 to 30 range, for example, will go undrafted at the back of the first round because Cleveland will have reached out and said, we'll pay you more money. We'll pay you more money to be there at 36. Just don't get drafted by another team. We'll promise you more money. So I think you're going to see something kind of splashy with 36. I think you could see something splashy in the second round because they have so much money to dole out in those spots. One guy that I really like for Cleveland is a first baseman outfielder by the name of PJ Morlando. He was a top 15 prospect in this class before having kind of a slower spring. It might be the most power on the high school side of things. It might be the best hit tool on the high school side of things. He projects, for me at least, as a Kyle Schwarber type of a player who could move pretty quickly. And then knowing Cleveland, I would be stunned if they did not end up with a pretty exciting high school pitcher at one of those 2 spots. So that's the fun thing about having this much money for Cleveland is picks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're probably all going to be really exciting, high ceiling players because they have the money to do it.
Now explain why they have so much money. Just because they have the number 1 pick?
There is a slot. Mostly, yeah. There's a slot bonus associated with every pick, and when you land the number 1 pick, you are given $10.5 million to spend on that pick. You land the number 2 pick, you're only given $10 million, and so on and so forth. You take that, couple it with the fact that they were awarded a competitive balance A pick, which is due to their market size and revenue, and they get one of those every other year. And then, you just go down and down the list. So they have an extra pick in the 30s. They have the number 1 pick at pick number 1, and then they're going to have a high pick in 2, 3, 4, 5. It's why they have $18.5, $19 million to spend in this class, and it's more than anyone else.
Isn't what you're describing what Houston did with Correa and McCullers? Like, Correa wasn't supposed to be number 1, but he went number 1, and then they used the extra money to go back and get McCullers. Is that correct? Like, am I remembering that correctly?
It's exactly right.
Nice job. You remember it better than McCullers pitching because I haven't seen him pitch in like 2 years.
He's had a lot of injuries. He's a hell of a pitcher when he's healthy. But
yeah, but when's the last time he was healthy?
I
He's going to miss the whole season again, I think. Last thing, Joe, let's wrap it up with this. And speaking of prospects, we're talking about the Guardians selling some prospects, trading some prospects, because they need to get some proven starting pitchers, maybe even another bat. Obviously some of the top prospects in the system are already here. Some are playing well, some are not. Gabriel Arias has been a huge disappointment his time in Cleveland. Manzardo did not play particularly well when he was here the first time, but he's obviously a top prospect. Chase DeLauder. What do you think of some of these guys and their trade value here in the next few weeks?
Yeah, I think it's interesting. One thing that Cleveland has done a nice job doing over the last few years in the draft is they've actually stockpiled a good amount of left-handed power bats, and that hasn't always been the case for Cleveland. They've always kind of had a ton of center field, shortstop, second base, hitterish types guys. But you look at like C.J. Kayfis, you look at Ralphie Velasquez, you look at Chase DeLauder, you look at Kyle Manzardo. I mean, that's a lot of left-handed hitting power that is reasonably close to making its big league debut. They got the Naylor brothers. I think that's the biggest thing with Cleveland that they're going to have to decide, and it'll really dictate what they do with Kyle Manzardo is what are you going to do with Josh Naylor as his contract kind of his control years comes to an end. So that would be what I'd point to with Cleveland. They've got a lot of left-handed, power-hitting, thumping type guys, and I think that's going to draw interest from a lot of other teams. But yeah, if they could go out and use some of that ammo to go land a significant pitching piece, Cleveland, once you get to the 7th inning with the lead in Cleveland, it seems like the game is over. So stacking that rotation with one more arm would be a nice piece.
Joe, great insight, man. We appreciate you taking the time.
Good deal.
Of course, guys. Yeah, thanks.
Joe.
Awesome. That was Joe Doyle. Make sure you check him out on Twitter at Joe Doyle, MILB.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about.
It's unfortunate, real quick. I just want to follow up on it.
Yep.
It's unfortunate. The 5 guys he mostly talked about, the 4 hitters and the one pitcher, I forgot his name, Burns, right? Yeah. It sounds like they're all very good prospects.
Yeah.
It's disappointing that the Guardians have the first pick and they don't have that. In the last 20 years, you've had a lot of like
Bryce Harper, Adley Rushman,
yes,
Strasburg,
right,
But
Skeens.
But I'm sure that there's, like he said, there's a guy that you don't expect to hit that will turn into something.
Sure.
You just have to.
But you'd love to have, like, if Paul Skeens were in this draft, there'd be no discussion.
Right.
Like, this guy, and he's come up, he's an all-star in his
Right.
first half of the season.
There will be superstars in this draft.
Sure.
And you gotta.
But it's not as obvious.
You got to get
They
it
got to
right.
And it
figure it out.
sounds like the middle picks that they got could be something more interesting, like the way he described it.
Yeah, and I don't know why I remember that. I remember Houston doing
Yeah.
that. I can't remember who was supposed to be the number 1 pick, but it wasn't supposed to be Correa. And
Was it Chris Bryant? Was it the same year?
I don't know.
I'll look into it.
Chris Bryant was
He ended up being the
picked second pick after, I
But
think,
Correa
the Astros.
went 1.
It might.
And then they had extra money to turn around
Yeah.
and get Lance McCullers,
I don't
who
know.
was a great pick where they got him. He's had a lot of arm problems, and he had arm problems at the draft too.
Yeah.
But he's been a terrific pitcher. So I think that's
Byron
what Joe was
Buxton
talking about.
was who was supposed to be 1.
Oh,
Who went 1 the year Bryant went 2 to the Cubs?
I'll look it up in a sec. But that draft went Correa, Brian Buxton, Guardians legend Mike Zunino was the 3rd pick. Kevin
Not by
Gosselin
the
was the
Guardians.
4th pick. And then a couple guys who didn't pan out.
Zunino was a big time prospect
Yeah.
Stud.
coming out of
Obviously.
Florida.
Nothing.
Well, if you want to see.
And Byron Buxton, like McCullers, is always hurt.
Yeah.
Really good player, but always
If you
hurt.
want to see eventually whoever the Guardians take number 1, there's no better place to buy your tickets to see that Guardians number 1 overall pick play at Progressive Field. Then with Game Time, they have last-minute deals, which saves you up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever you want to buy a ticket on. They have the best last-minute deals. Their flash deals save even more with an exclusive in-app deal on select seats ahead of the event or game you're trying to go to, and their zone deals. You can pick a zone and let Game Time choose the seats for you. You can see the view from your seat before you purchase. And with their Game Time ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the entire online ticket industry. So take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the app today, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your purchase. Once again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
I got a question. Why isn't it, the NBA big time thing with the draft? NFL obviously made a lot of moves with the draft to make it a big thing.
It's getting bigger.
They're
The
trying.
players, but the players don't go straight to the league. In the NBA and the NFL, you draft a player, he plays in the league the next year.
Most often, it
doesn't happen
takes
in
a
baseball.
year to 3 years for these guys
Yeah.
to actually make the
year?
debut. And, Skeens,
But
recently.
that's a rarity.
But the top 10 picks or so, we've seen it with Wyatt Langford.
Yeah.
We've seen it with.
yeah, but that's still rare. Most of those guys don't.
Dylan Cruz from last year.
It's
like 4 or
becoming
5
more
in
and
the top
more that
10.
the next year, I'm talking the elites, like top 5, top 10 pick, they're showing up the next year. It's happening.
Right, but not. There's like 2 or 3 guys.
But
maybe every
honestly,
year.
I think it's more the fact that you don't know who these. You watch college baseball?
Yeah.
You watch high school baseball?
It's getting a little bigger.
They're trying.
It's getting
They're-
bigger.
they've- I think
They're
they've-
making more of it.
I think
now.
they've done a nice job. They've been smart with trying to put it on MLB Network. They're doing
Yeah.
it over All-Star Weekend. They're trying to make it more of a production.
It
But
also happens during the season, unlike the other.
we
two
talked about that
sports.
the other
Yeah.
day, how weird that
Yeah.
is. But everybody knows college football.
Yeah.
So even guys 5th, 6th, 7th round, you've heard of them. You know who they are. College basketball, you at least watch March Madness, so you know who a lot of these guys are, although it's getting a little bit less because of
Yeah,
the international
definitely
players.
get less.
But
Good point.
baseball, you
Yeah.
just don't know, so it's hard.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, Bull, I saw this question. It came from a tweet from Jared Mueller, so he gets credit for the question. It's a great question. In your guys' opinion, what's more important for the guards to get right? The number 1 pick in this Sunday's draft, or whatever moves they decide to make and or not make at the trade deadline? Which one of those two is more crucial to nail?
That's easy to me.
Go ahead.
Super easy.
As the number 1 pick. Like that'll impact you for 6 years. The trade deadline, in a best case scenario,
Yeah.
is 1 year, 2 years, 1 or 2 years, depending on, and obviously who you give up could negatively impact you. But I just think that it's vital to get the pick right.
My problem with the question is it's almost too vague. Like, what does it mean getting it right versus not getting it right? Like, are you saying if you get it right, the guy's a Hall of Famer, and if you get it wrong, he's a bust? I mean, because it's unlikely to be either extreme.
Yeah.
Is getting it right, he's a good player, but maybe he's just an average, like,
Yeah.
I mean, none of maybe. So that's why it's a little tricky to answer. The trade deadline is important because they have a chance to win right now. Mm-hmm. And in baseball, it's not football or basketball where one guy can be the difference. No matter how good this player is, if you draft a quarterback, that could change your whole franchise.
Yeah.
You draft a great basketball player, changes your whole franchise. One baseball player is not going to change your whole franchise.
Okay, but go talk to Detroit right now, who's just absolutely deflated over Spencer Torkelson, who's been just an abomination.
Fine.
And now they're looking at this going,
I agree.
that's a huge
the
blow to
Pirates
that team.
nailed Paul Skeens. They're not winning that much. You know what I'm saying? It's like one guy's not going to change the entire 40.
But the Pirates have been a tire fire for 30 years.
Yeah.
I would
The Guardians have not.
That's true.
I would say right now, because right now you are in the catbird seat. You got the lead. All you need to do is, if you told me I got a couple of dudes that's going to get me an opportunity to make it to the World Series, and once I'm in, I got a chance to win, right? And I got to look at it like this. We mentioned a lot of prospects. The one guy we don't mention no more is Espino. And I've been hearing about him for 4 years. This guy was supposed to be better than Gavin Williams. But Jason said it. The rise of arm injuries, these kids throwing 99 miles an hour, how often do we hear about him? I'm like, he's scheduled for Tommy John surgery. And you're like, that was the number one overall pick. Most of the prospects, I take now. Give me now.
I guess in the grand scheme of things, it is more important to the organization to get that first pick right. And if you get a superstar, it's a big deal because you have that guy for a long time. And if they get it right and one of these kids is a superstar, well, then you have him with Jose and you have him. Now, who knows? By the time that kid's a superstar in the big leagues, Naylor might be gone, Quan might be gone. I don't know, but.
Well, the guys they're looking at.
I hate to have to pick because both are really important.
Both are important, sure.
Yeah.
And if you look at he actually surprised me. Joe surprised me that he had Burns number one because I haven't really seen that. But
I haven't heard him mentioned at all.
I've heard him mentioned, but not really. But the three hitters are all college hitters, so they should be. I think there's a chance.
Well, four if you include Caglione.
Right. True. So if it's a hitter that they pick, I think he could be in Cleveland next year.
Well, that's if they're willing to get his clock started so quick. I mean,
well, I didn't say opening day.
Yeah.
I mean, his clock. hey, that clock. How many years they got him under control? That's all I want to know.
It's either
7
6 or 7, depending on when
they if you manipulate. But like Wyatt Langford,
yeah.
Wyatt Langford started this year in opening, and he struggled badly. But
he's been better lately.
Yeah, but I'm just saying he got off to a really slow start. But he was in last year's draft, and wasn't Crochet in last year's draft? Or was he 2 years ago?
I thought it was 2 years ago.
He might have been.
I think Crochet was 2 years ago.
He might have been.
The only from last year's draft, it's Skeens and Langford.
Yes.
I think that's it.
And Dylan Cruz is up already.
Dylan Cruz is not up.
Yes, he is.
No,
He is.
I could have sworn I saw him on a ESPN highlight yesterday.
I don't think he's in the big
And
leagues. I could be wrong.
Do you take in consideration that you say you got him for 7, but with the Guardians that's really 5.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the reality of it.
Yeah, that's really 5.
Like that's the point I made when they had to trade Lindor. It's like it's the base. Like they did everything right. They nailed the pick. They developed him, turned him into
what
a
the hell are you
superstar,
talking about?
and they couldn't retain him. They had to
They
trade
called
him.
up the other top prospect, James Woods. That's what I was
James
thinking of.
Wood.
Yeah.
Wood, not
Excuse
Woods.
me, not Dylan Cruz. I apologize.
I thought
Right. James Wood's been and he's off to a good start.
There's a chance whoever they take this year is up a year from now in June. I don't think that's unreasonable.
No,
So-
it's not unreasonable. But it's still not that common.
Yeah, but it's
happening
becoming
a little more
It's
often.
becoming more common.
But
with the
yes, a
high-end
guy
guys.
who's a college hitter, especially,
yes.
has a chance by the following year to be in the
Yeah.
big leagues. Or certainly the year after that, at the very least.
Oh, yeah. If
Whereas
he's not
you draft
up,
a kid out of high school, I mean, it could take 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Easy.
I looked up the Chris Bryant draft, which I'll give you in a sec.
Yeah.
We also asked the current YouTube chat, what they think is more important for the Guardians to nail. The deadline of the number 1 pick. Bull, you said the number 1 pick. G said the deadline. Jason, what'd you fall?
Number one
on?
pick. Number 1 pick.
So 2 number 1 picks, 1 deadline. The chat, 65% trade deadline.
Yeah,
saying live in the moment, you got to go for it now.
Yeah.
And 35% saying the number 1 pick. And also in the draft that Chris Bryant went second, Mark Appel was the number 1 pick.
Oh, yeah.
And he was the number 8 pick the year before.
Right.
Did not sign.
But
with
he
the
was
team
drafted
that
1 by
drafted
the
him.
Astros, wasn't he?
He went number 1 to the Astros. He
Right.
was drafted the year before by the Pirates. Were
Yeah.
unable to come to a deal on the signing bonus, so he went back to college
Yeah.
and then was the number 1 pick the following year.
Yeah, which was a disaster because
Yeah.
he was terrible.
Yeah.
And the 32nd pick that year was Aaron Judge.
It just shows you.
Hey, man, I need that
He was the
36.
best player.
Hey, give me that 36,
I mean,
dog.
Trout was around there. Trout was like 23, 24.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Mike Piazza was drafted in the 40th round.
As a favor to Tommy Lasorda.
Yeah.
40th round.
Ryan Sandberg, a Hall of Famer, was drafted in the 20-something round.
Jim Tomey
Thome.
was 22nd, 25th, 27th, somewhere down there.
Yeah.
So
There's not even that many rounds anymore. It's
no,
only 20, I think,
no.
now.
You just never know, man.
Yeah. All right, Mike.
One last thing on that with the draft. We have Jared Goodwin of Perfect Game USA coming on tomorrow to give us his thoughts on the draft as well. And we're working on getting Tim Kirkshin on Friday to give us his thoughts. So each of the next 2 days we will have a different MLB Draft expert joining the show to break down the Guardians' choices with the number 1 overall pick. Before we move on, do you have a choice, Bull? If it was you on the clock in the Guardians GMC, who would you take number 1? I'm going around the horn, by the way. G, you'll be next, and Jason, you'll wrap us up.
I will admit I'm not an expert. I've watched a little more college baseball this year because I knew the Guardians were taking the first pick.
Yep.
But it's so hard because they're using metal bats, and
Right.
you don't know how good the pitching is they're facing. But Condon seems like the best choice. He's huge.
Yep.
I want that. He's the dude that played third base and right field.
For
Yeah.
Georgia, correct?
Yeah, give me
Yes.
him.
He played in the SEC, which is the best conference.
Give me him.
I've been Team Condon from the start.
Yeah, yeah.
It's the SEC. It's better competition. He's
Yeah.
enormous. I think he's had a monster year.
Yeah.
I thought he has sort of
Wasn't
separated
even
himself.
drafted out of high school.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But
Late
I mean,
bloomer.
I understand why ESPN picked Weatherholt because he fits their profile to a
Yes.
T as a middle
Yes.
infielder. Like that's to their demographic is if you can play shortstop, you can
Right.
play anywhere.
That hamstring injury, that I don't know, but that's a lot. Like he missed the whole doggone all season, then came back and get hamstring again.
Yeah.
I mean, Quan's had a history of hamstrings.
Yeah.
But you know, you deal with it, and you. Actually, I thought the most intriguing thing, the fascinating thing, I thought Joe said had to do with the pitching. That guys who throw 99 out of high school are falling, and they'd rather have.
Right.
And the Guardians are a perfect example, like Tanner Bybee.
Yeah. Too much too soon
Yeah,
sometimes.
and I think the Guardians very much prefer control guys, and they feel like they can get to velo
Yeah.
in their system with their development. But if you come out throwing 99, you're going to the operating room sooner than later.
Yeah, I don't like that
I'm
word.
just fascinated by
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
whole evolution of baseball.
Well, Skeens is going to be fascinating. He reminds me of when
He's head of the operating room
when,
at some
when
point.
Mark Pryor came up and he was just or Doc Gooden,
Kerry
and
Wood.
Kerry Wood, yeah.
I thought it was surprising when I asked him about what is it, Caglione, the guy who pitches.
Yeah.
And he
Caglione.
said, he's throwing 99 and he's left-handed.
Yeah.
It just seems like, hey, I need that. Like, at least you could make him a relief pitcher, right?
Well, you're not taking number 1 overall pick for a relief pitcher.
Yeah.
But he said his bat is that good.
I don't understand why teams wouldn't do both. I know there's an injury risk, but look, Ohtani got hurt. He's still hitting.
I think Ohtani is one of one.
I mean, yes.
The toll that it takes on you, and not just the preparation, having to prepare scouting reports for both. I just think it's.
Shohei Ohtani, I'm going to stir the pot here, is the greatest baseball player ever.
I don't think that's stirring the pot.
No?
What you mean stirring the pot?
Who's
I think it's
No,
a fact.
who else is?
No
in
one
that
is. No,
conversation?
it's not close. Almost.
That
I
can be
mean,
both.
he could have in theory been a Hall of Famer as a pitcher or a hitter.
Yeah.
He's that good.
Yeah.
I would let the kid. I let him throw. Listen, at least I'll work it out in A-ball. I'll see what he does in A-ball. I'll let him do both down there to see if he's like burned out. But a left-handed pitcher throwing 99 miles an hour and he hits that well, I'm like, no, I got to see.
By
It's
the way,
crazy. His real quick, because
Yeah.
I got to see Caglione a little bit when he was at Florida when I was at A&M. Same thing as a freshman, giant, threw unbelievably hard, just like Joe mentioned with his chase rate in terms of pitching.
Yeah.
His control as a pitcher is not there either, G. It's power, like straight up power to the max, all the way 99 out of 99, but the control, accuracy, and finesse part of his game.
Yeah, which is a
still
problem
isn't
if
there.
you're going to want to be a relief pitcher.
It ain't
by the way.
just speed. Like major leaguers, will, even at 99, they'll turn
It's
on.
irrelevant.
99.
I don't care how hard you throw it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
They'll get to
if
it.
you don't have command. Go ahead.
We're going to talk Jose Ramirez in the Home Run Derby. A quick reminder, though, that on Monday, this coming Monday, July 15th, we are heading out to Quail Hollow for
right.
the Austin Carr Celebrity Golf Tournament to get some interviews in before they start golfing. The show on Monday will be from 10 a.m. to noon, not 11 to 1. It'll be from 10 a.m. to noon just for that one day on this upcoming Monday, so mark your calendars accordingly. We'll be live out there for the full 2 hours. We're going to get a bunch of great interviews with some of the celebrities playing in the golf tournament, including Austin Carr. Bull will be out there. G will be out there. Jason will be out there. Jay
Where
will
is
be
the
out
event?
there. Quail Hollow Golf Course.
Where is that?
It's a great question. So
East
we'll be
side.
at Quail Hollow
Oh.
for the celebrity golf tournament. So
figure
that
out the
day, the
Guardian
show,
show that day.
will be up 1 hour earlier than usual. So mark your calendars.
There you go.
Jose Ramirez, one of the 6 confirmed participants in the Home Run Derby. Bull G, Jason, he did it last year. He's doing it again. Do you have any fears that this could potentially affect his swing for the second half of the season and the Guardians' playoff stretch?
I don't. I think that's all nonsense. I think people look to point at the guys who play in the Home Run Derby and then struggle after, and we ignore the guys who play in the Home Run Derby and then do just fine after. Baseball, no matter how good you are, unlike basketball and football, superstars have slumps. And every time they come in the second half, every time after a derby, we point to the derby. It's really just batting practice. I get they're a little more juiced up because it's in front of a lot of people. But I have no problem with Jose doing this whatsoever, and I don't buy any of the connection between derby and not playing well in the second half.
It's like a NASCAR reference. You know what? I drove the Giant Eagle the other day. Messed up my driving, bro. I can't even turn the corner in this NASCAR. No, that's not it. These dudes, listen, Stephen Kwan practiced not hitting the ball. That's how good these dudes be. Like they practice, like in batting practice, they don't go in batting practice hitting home runs. They working on stuff in there. No, that has nothing to do with it. Shout out to Jose. I would have, if you asked me though, would I like to see Jose or Naylor in it? I would have chose Josh Naylor. I think he's a character. I want to see him swing very hard.
I don't disagree with you there.
I actually think it might be the time off more than the home run derby that impacts guys. Why, I mean, you see it with guys who are not in the home run derby who slump in the second half.
Right.
Because baseball is such a game of rhythm, and when you fall out of rhythm, even for 4 or 5 days, it just messes with the timing a little bit. And I don't worry about Jose. He's a veteran. He's been doing this forever. I think if I'd had concerns about anyone, it would be someone who's maybe a little bit younger and doing it for the first time, but not a vet, not someone like Jose who's been through the Derby, who's a major league veteran in his 8th year now, 9th year, something like that.
What do you guys think his chances of winning the Derby are? These are the participants already committed. They will have 2 more. There'll be 8 eventually, but the commitments so far, Jose, Gunnar Henderson, Marcell Ozuna, Pete Alonso, Alec Boehm, and Bobby Witt Jr.
Not great. I don't think his odds are great.
Marcell Ozuna was a terrible choice. He's was busted for beating up his girlfriend or something. Like, why would you highlight that guy in your home run derby? I think that's a bad choice. I think Gunnar Henderson and Bobby Witt Jr. are great choices. They're excellent, exciting young players.
Alonso wins it every year.
Alonso's great at it.
Yeah.
And he's going to be a free agent at the end
Alonso
of the year. He
was
plays for
built
New York
for the home run
Right,
derby.
he's just he's the Craig Hodges of this thing.
Yeah, and Alex Baum, I mean, he's a nice young player. I like him.
That was the delay.
I like that.
They brought Craig Hodges out of retirement to let him shoot with no squad.
Having Ozuna in there is that's a terrible job by Major League Baseball. Why would you highlight a player that was suspended for beating up someone? It's just so dumb.
I don't know.
You guys know how much I love baseball. I am done with the home run derby. I'll watch it because Jose's in it, and I'll root for him.
I don't know the rules. They change the rules.
They change it
all
every
the time.
year.
Yeah.
It's too much.
Yeah. Well, I think they're trying to cut it down because it was taking so long. So they're trying to speed it up a little bit.
It is, and it's like the 3-point shot and the slam dunk. I'm done with it. I've seen it enough. I'm bored.
They should have. You should have regular people do it. Like if I saw regular people dunking in a dunk contest or regular people in the home run derby, I'd go crazy. I don't know if that many regular people can hit home runs.
I don't know.
I would love to see him do it, and I know for health reasons you cannot have this happen, but we just talked about the metal bats in the college ranks. I wish they would just give these dudes metal bats for the home run derby with no one in the stadium and let them hit.
I was going to say, you want people to
No,
die?
no. I know it doesn't happen for health reasons.
Game
but
of
I just want to
Thrones.
see how far Aaron Judge and Jose and Henderson, these guys can hit a baseball with an aluminum metal bat. I think 600 feet's on the table.
Oh, Aaron Judge for sure can hit it 600 feet.
In the outfield, I'm still confused by this. Like, so
You'd have to
people-
clear the streets outside
So
the
the
stadium.
people it's not like the ball's coming at supersonic speeds. Like, if they hit a ball in the stands, you still think people gonna get killed?
Somebody can get killed. If Aaron Judge hit a line drive home run, and you're standing in left field, not paying attention to hit you in the head, you die.
Yeah, you would. Gee, they're hitting with a wooden bat. And then, Jason, you go to biometrics, so please tell me if I'm way off or on. With a wooden bat, Judge, Stanton, some of these guys hit with an XO velo of like 115, 160 miles per hour. That could be like 140 off an aluminum bat.
Yes.
Is that underestimating?
I don't
Jason,
know
how
what it
hard
is
they can hit
exactly,
this?
but I know it's-
Probably even you could probably hit it even harder.
I mean,
than
yeah.
that. With some of the, I mean, you go back to the '80s with the aluminum bats I mean, those things were fire hot. Like you could, they've actually dumbed them down a little bit now, but you can go on, like there's YouTube videos because I'm all into this now because of my son, and there's guys who all they do is hit, like grown men, adults who obviously aren't major league players but played at college at a high level, and how far they can hit with aluminum bats. I told the story before. When All-Star Weekend was here in 2019, they had the high school home run derby, and the high school kids were peppering the scoreboard at Progressive Field.
Scoreboard?
The scoreboard.
These are the best high school players in the
kids.
country?
Yes, the high school kids competed in a home run derby, and they were hitting it off the scoreboard, and like people in the bleachers were like
Hey, listen.
ducking.
I think Aaron Judge
That
could
was
hit the
high
Halley
school
building
kids.
from
Hey, McNuggets, if we go
What's up?
against Jay Crawford, I'm requesting metal bat. He already has the advantage. He has.
Oh, no, we're definitely using metal bats.
He has the
100%,
advantage.
yeah.
He's already a pitcher. We need metal bats.
Well, when Jay pitches in his old man league, they use metal bats. So,
We good then.
By the way, I was so worked up about this softball game, WKYC, and now I can't even play in it.
What?
When is it?
Because we have I forgot, I'm coaching fall ball this year. It's Sundays.
Well, if you made me run through that many hoops to set up a secret
I
meeting
mean, you
with
didn't
and
really run
Stephanie,
through that many hoops. You sent one email.
I dealt with a lot of emails prior to that to put you in contact. If you
how
don't
many
show up, I will be livid.
I can't. I got to coach.
Somebody else can coach one.
Yeah,
it's
someone
one
else can coach for
game.
you.
What,
One
game.
what day is this again?
August 25th.
Can
I
we play
believe.
on it? Can she make it a Saturday? Can I email her to make it a Saturday instead?
You do. I've already set up the meeting of the minds. The rest. Is on you.
I'll email her, but I think she's not going to be able to do it. Or maybe push it back an hour.
How many fall ball games you got?
There's only 7 regular season games, and I have to miss one already.
Well, now you're missing 2.
I can't
Yeah.
miss it.
That is. Well, you can't.
I'm
miss
having
the
a pinch
softball.
runner if I do play, by the way.
That's fair. Speaking of pinch runners,
Yeah.
well, there's no read here. I just had to get one more read in. We got all our reads in. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We're doing an
Yeah.
Ultimate Cavs show tonight, so make sure you guys tune in at 7 o'clock for that. ESPN is going through its list of the top 10 players in the NFL at each position entering 2024. They surveyed executives and coaches from around the league. This is not players. This is executives and coaches, and according to the ESPN articles, you can't vote for your own guys.
Okay.
And they compiled a list of the 10 best running backs for the upcoming season. And our guy Nick Chubb, despite coming off a season-ending injury, came in at number 3. Number 1 was Christian McCaffrey. Number 2 was Breece Hall of the Jets. 3, Nick Chubb. 4, Saquon Barkley. And 5, Jonathan Taylor. Are
This
you
tel-
guys surprised that Chubb, despite coming off injury,
That's a
still came at number
stunner
3?
because we don't even know if he's going to be ready to go for the
Yeah.
start of the season. It shows you how much respect that coaches and executives around the league have for Nick Chubb and how great a player he is. I don't know how you could put him 3rd coming off a massive injury at his age because even, I mean, this is a massive, massive injury.
The second one.
Yeah, and it's hard to be great right after that. So I wouldn't have him 3rd, but it shows you the respect that he has earned, around the league.
Yeah, remember we were debating whether Nick Chubb had a legitimate shot to get into the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
And we were kind of projecting out. We was like, he's still got a lot of work to do. This list just shows you they got him in the category of like a Gale Sayers type, or a Terrell Davis. It's like, he coming off a major surgery, and this is his second one. and he's already like third.
Yeah,
Like there's
that's wild.
That's like they're saying, oh, it don't matter. Like he's gonna come back and be Nick Chubb. Like it doesn't matter. We believe. Like to me, that says a lot. That speaks volume about like what they think. And this is GMs and stuff. These is the people that cut people for $3 million.
It also feels like an indictment on the rest of the running backs, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean,
Do you want the rest of the top 10?
Yeah,
and
what's the
honorable
rest of the top
mentions
10?
just because,
Derrick Henry is out of here.
we mentioned Christian McCaffrey 1, Breece Hall 2, Nick Chubb 3, Saquon 4, Jonathan Taylor 5, 6 Bijan Robinson, 7 Josh Jacobs, 8 Jahmyr Gibbs, 9 Derrick Henry, and 10 Travis Etienne. And then honorable mentions who receive votes but not enough to qualify: Aaron Jones, Kenneth Walker, Isaiah Pacheco, James Cook, Alvin Kamara, Joe Mixon, and DeAndre Swift.
That's wild. Dang, Derrick Henry, you almost out the top 10.
He's old.
Yeah.
A lot of mileage on the tires, but he is in Baltimore now.
I do think it is the utmost sign of respect to still vote Chubb that high coming off a season where he played 1.5 games. It's his second career severe knee injury, and to still have him above the likes of Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, Bijan, Derrick Henry, Etienne, et cetera, et cetera.
I mean, as much as I love Nick Chubb, if I were drafting teams for just this year, forget the rest of their careers, so age is not a big factor, I wouldn't take Nick Chubb third as much as I love him. Would anybody?
No,
Probably not.
Because I don't know what.
Yeah. Now maybe if I was his personal trainer and knew he was he was going to be fine, then maybe I'd feel differently. But with the information we have, I don't know how I'd vote him third.
As I'll be looking at a bunch of these lists, this team, like people feel like the New York Jets is kind of good. Like PFF says they have the best secondary, the best linebackers, the best D-line. They just rated Breece Hall the second best running back.
But the Jets are like the Browns. They're two teams before we talked about how the Cavs, Spurs are in their own category, or the Cavs could have. I said with Sacramento, the Browns and Jets are in a category unlike any other team. They're two extremely talented rosters where you don't know what you're going to get from the quarterback. Who else is in that category? Are there any other NFL teams?
That their quarterback determines everything?
Yeah, right, that you don't know. Not that because the quarterback determines everything for all the good teams.
Right.
But all the other contenders, their quarterbacks, if they're healthy, are going to be good.
Yeah.
Right? I know Patrick Mahomes is going to be good if he's healthy. I know Joe Burrow is going to be good if he's healthy. I know Lamar is going to be good if he's healthy. On and on and on. The rest of the quarterbacks, I know they're going to be good if they're healthy. With Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson, I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
And if you're one of the Watson Warriors, you've conned yourself with all these convoluted arguments as to why Deshaun Watson's been good the last 2 years when he's clearly not been.
Con is such a strong word.
No, you've conned yourself. We can con ourselves into anything we want. Deshaun Watson, we don't know if he's going to be good. The same thing for Aaron Rodgers. There's a lot of assumption that he's going to be a great quarterback again. He's 40 and coming off an Achilles tear. How do you assume who's been good at 40 besides Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Has any other quarterback been good at 40?
Could you put the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in that category?
Absolutely
too?
not. Absolutely not.
Where if Baker's healthy, you don't know if he's good or not?
But Baker, unlike Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun, Baker's upside is limited. Whereas Deshaun Watson could be a 10 or a 2. Aaron Rodgers could be a 10 or a 2.
I'm just trying to clarify
Baker's
this category for you.
could be a 6 or a 2. That's a big difference. The Buccaneers are not a Super Bowl contender.
I guess I misunderstood your category.
What I'm saying is the Jets and the Browns are the two teams that if their quarterback plays at their best, they're Super Bowl contenders.
They have the supporting cast in place.
Right. The Buccaneers are not a Super Bowl contender no matter what.
I understand now. Sorry. I misinterpreted how you were.
No, that's fine.
Putting that into consideration. I don't think. I mean, could you put Russell Wilson in there?
No.
If he plays at his best, the Steelers can win a Super Bowl?
No, because No, because his best was never as good as Deshaun Watson's best, and certainly never as good as Aaron Rodgers' best. And in my opinion, unlike Watson and Rodgers, I'm giving him no chance of playing at his best again.
What about the C.J. Stroud fit in that category?
No, because even though you could argue that he only did it once. I think it's way more likely. I'm much more confident that C.J. Stroud will be excellent if he's healthy than I am about Watson or Rodgers. I don't know how you guys feel. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
You could argue that because he's only done it 1 year.
And the last team I would say you could throw in there potentially, the Niners. If Purdy stinks, are they still as good? And if he plays well, they're obviously
No, but I have when Purdy's been in the league, he's only played well. Why would I assume he's not? Why would I not assume?
I think Russ could fit that category you're talking about. I think his elite was pretty elite, but I think it's been so long since we've seen it.
Right.
I don't
and
think it's there
unlike
anymore.
Deshaun Watson, where it's been long, he's young.
Yeah.
Deshaun's, younger than Russell Wilson, significantly. That's the difference. Russell Wilson's older, and Russell Wilson's decline has been, first of all, he wasn't as talented as Deshaun Watson, but he's also a lot older than Deshaun Watson. And I'm just talking for myself. You can make whatever argument you want. To me, the Browns and Jets are in that category.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're trying to describe, and I tend to agree. I think Russ could be in there, but I think his best days are over, and we know his best days are behind him, and this is the downside.
Now, for them, I just don't want to see. I think if Justin Fields figured it out, I don't want to see Justin Fields. I would prefer Russell Wilson over Justin Fields because I think Justin Fields brings something a little different to the table.
Didn't Brooke Pryor say she expects they're going to get a look at Fields this year?
Yeah.
They got to make a
What's
decision
the
on
point
him.
of just handing Russell Wilson the job? That makes no sense. There's no reason not to have a competition. They're not paying either of them.
Right.
They're not committed to either of them beyond this year.
I don't want to misstate this.
Yeah.
I think she said even Russ will probably win it to start the year, but you're going to see Fields.
Yeah.
Because they got to make a decision on him for the future.
Right, but I don't even know why she'd assume that
Russ would start.
I know
And
that.
I don't want to mistake
I think
that.
the Steelers have said he's the starter, but there's zero reason not to have a true competition there.
And they might as well say that now.
Right,
And think about it. What's the harm in going from Wilson to Justin Fields? I think it's easier to go from Wilson to Fields than from Fields to Wilson.
Yeah, I mean, I think Justin Fields has the higher upside.
Yes.
But the lower downside
for
too.
sure.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Fair enough. Tomorrow we're going to dive into the defensive end rankings, which ESPN put out. And a little spoiler alert because the article came out this morning.
Yeah.
Myles Garrett stands alone at number 1. So we'll see if
Doesn't
that puts the
everybody at
entire
number
debate
1
to
stand
rest.
alone?
That's a fair point. That is a fair and valid point.
I
We
saw-
got 2 super chats here before we wrap up the show. Brody's bottom line says, Paul George stinks in regards to our NBA tiers
He
conversation
stinks?
earlier.
He doesn't stink.
That's silly.
I'd take him.
He's old. He's had a lot of injuries, but he
Yeah.
doesn't stink.
Yeah, I feel like he's one of those players you always want a little more from, even though the traditional numbers and the shooting stats and the metrics all look good. You just always think there's that next level that he really hasn't hit since his Indiana days. Remember when he dunked on LeBron?
Yep.
Or was it Chris Bosh?
No,
LeBron or Bosh?
it was LeBron. He came down the lane in Miami.
Yeah, that was pretty
Crazy.
sweet. That was a nice dunk. And our other super chat comes from Halim, who says, don't be surprised if Nick Chubb is active for week 1. Look at his contract details. Noah Westcott for the OBR has been on this train also. They stressed it was an ACL repair, not a full reconstruction.
But
Do
he
you
had
guys feel
he had
one way or
second
another?
surgery.
Yeah, do you guys feel one way or another about his availability for week 1?
I've said all along, don't rule him out.
Who ruled him out? I don't think any of us said I said we don't know if he's going to play week 1.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Man.
Nothing Nick Chubb did would surprise me.
Yeah.
Nick Chubb could play week 1 run for 200 yards, and it wouldn't surprise me. He's Nick Chubb.
Surprise is a very strong word again. I'm being measured today. What I count.
What's gotten into you?
It's this new coffee. I'm not going to
I could
endorse
just
it.
say two words, and the measured would go out the window. Imani Bates.
Oh, 26 pounds. He's almost 250 now, Jason.
I'm going to see him on tomorrow.
Let's go.
By
Let's
the way,
go.
is it 26 pounds of muscle, or has he just been eating crappy food all
now
day?
you're going to go to the man's diet. You're going to
by
go to
the
the
way,
man's
Gigi-
diet, boy.
Hey,
Hold on. Jimmy,
I'm
talk to Monty
allowed to
Bates.
talk about eating like crap.
Paul George dunked on Chris Birdman Anderson, not LeBron, and then LeBron went and dapped him up. But the dunk was on. I'm watching
that's
it right
dirty.
now. This was. I wish Tagboard works. We could play this, but stupid social news desk is the worst thing we've ever gotten. That's a nasty dunk on Chris Anderson.
LeBron good for setting. Remember he got Damon Jones set up for that dunk. He
All right, back to Amani Bates putting on 26 pounds of pure muscle. Is he going to average over 26 points per game in the summer league?
That's tough.
Better because he's not going to average over 6
Let's
points a
not
game in the
let's not
NBA.
act like 26 is like, come on, like you can't just be giving the 26 out like a game. That's like 30 a game. They got Jalen Tyson who gonna play. There's a lot of guys that's gonna play down there. Look at the measurement. That we're not gonna put it out there. You know,
But he's your guy. You got to stand by him.
He better dominate summer league.
Hey, listen, I'm more interested in seeing what his defensive rotations looking like. I want to see him make the right passes. You know what I'm saying? I want to see him very efficient in the summer league.
I'm getting on a plane in 2 hours.
There you go.
Mike, what else you got?
That's about it.
No more super chats?
No, those were our 2 super chats. Let me check just to confirm no more have come in. Nope, those are our 2 super chats. Quick reminder, we mentioned it a second ago, but we will be 10 to 12 on Monday. And I mentioned this to Anthony earlier. We have a couple minutes. I think mock drafts have ruined draft season.
Why?
Sick of mock drafts.
I've always hated mock drafts.
I was pro mock draft
Yeah.
until recently, and going through this whole NBA draft process,
Yeah.
and it goes back to the NFL. You can't have an opinion on your own anymore. You are so tied to the consensus of this guy was the 28th prospect and took him at 18th.
Yeah.
It's such a reach.
That's the problem.
And I think everyone gets so caught up in the groupthink of mock drafts.
That's true.
That when you take a guy, well, he was mocked, and once again, mock drafts before the draft mean absolutely freaking nothing. Well, he was mocked by 3 guys, 29,
I know.
and you took him at 18.
But mock drafts are
bullcrap.
fine. It's how people react to them. Fans, and media members, we're not immune to this. We judge drafts based on mock drafts, which is if you
insane.
think about it,
It's
it's
insane.
beyond stupid.
Because you're taking the word of people who aren't even.
Yeah.
If they were really that good at it, they would be actually doing it, not pretending to do
And
it.
it doesn't mean there aren't some that are, and some of them, like, first of all, the people who do it for a living aren't that good at it because they
Right.
get it wrong all the time.
They do.
So the rest of us are going to be in worse shape than that.
Right.
Now, it doesn't mean some of these guys who do mock drafts, like Dane Brugler from the Athletic, that's his thing. He works really hard on it.
Yeah.
Mel Kiper. They're not half-assing it.
Correct.
There's some people that it's really serious business, and it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. It helps you learn about players
Those
and whatever.
people that you just mentioned talk to teams.
Yes.
Like they're basing it on actual information.
They have resources, right? They can talk to people on the phone. They literally have real film. They have real games like, hey, this European guy played in the Euro League.
Yeah.
Catch me on YouTube, man.
There's nothing wrong with a mock draft. It's the way people react and use them.
That's a better way to phrase it.
It's so stupid.
And for example, and this does not stem from the Jalen Tyson pick, but it's a perfect example of it, right? Jalen Tyson was ranked around 30 in the drafts, give or take, whatever. He was 28, 32, whatever. They take him with the 20th pick. I, on a live stream, was like, I don't know a ton about this guy. I don't have an opinion yet. I got to watch some film. People are ripping the pick at the time without really knowing it because he was, let me click real quick, ESPN him as a 32nd ranked prospect.
Right.
That's a giant reach. You hear Kobe Altman talk about this is a guy we had on our board for 3 years. We followed him from all 3 stops throughout his collegiate career. We were at a bunch of his games. And you talk to someone else real quick from a different team, and you're like, yeah, around 20, that makes perfect sense. But because he was mocked and all these things beforehand, it's a giant reach. They're like, none of us know how these guys
It's
are
all
going to pan
stupid.
out.
I don't care what the GM says because,
But you get,
of course, he's going to overhype the guy he
But
picks.
you get what I'm saying, though. Like
it's stupid.
It throws off the perception of every player, good or bad. And
But
I'm
you
just
know
sick
what?
of
We
mock
can't
drafts now.
complain about it, Mike. And I do sometimes, but the reality is people can't get enough of. That's why our show exists.
Oh, we're going to do it.
That's why our show
I'm not
is
saying we're
thriving.
stopping. We're
Because
gonna continue
people
to do it.
want more and more and more info, and it leads to having conversations that are stupid sometimes.
I've changed my mind on drafts. I was like, listen, hey, I could say I wanted a guy here or liked a guy here, whoever they picked or whatever. You can argue about that. It's about whether seeing if they can play or not.
Yeah,
Like,
until they play, you don't know. Picking winners and losers of the draft the day after the draft is the dumbest thing ever.
I'm
we're
gonna
gonna
watch
still do
Jalen
it.
Tyson and see what he do.
I don't do it.
You know, see what
I'm
he
not
work
doing that
with.
shit.
I'm not saying we're going anti-mock draft on UCSS. I'm just saying after
please.
talking to a few people, and it had nothing to do with Tyson. He's just the example I'm using. It is absurd how much people base their opinion on a pick based off someone else's opinion of a pick that has not really.
It's even bigger in football because let's face it, the NBA draft.
Football is the exact same thing, though.
Huge,
Yeah.
and that's what people judge it on stupid things that make no sense because nobody knows.
Well, let's say the Guardians take Chase Burns, just for example, real
Yeah.
quick. You already know the reaction's
Oh,
going
it's
to
going to be right.
He wasn't mocked number 1 in any. How could they do that?
Right. And if anything, the Guardians deserve our benefit of the doubt
Absolutely.
in something like that because their current front office I'm going to give the benefit of the doubt to the Guardians front office way more than the Browns and the Browns have moved up, but like Kobe Altman, even he's, middle of the road, fine. I don't think we have any terrible GMs in Cleveland, but like the more you respect the front office, the more benefit of the doubt you should give them in situations where it's unproven players.
We got to say something, Jason. We got 20 seconds.
No, I don't remember.
Nothing.
ADD.
Perfect. All right, we'll see you in overtime. We're going to talk about the Superman movie, closing off downtown.
Oh, what a whine.
Big annoyance.
About that.
Peace.